All right, welcome to the program. Good morning. It's 13th day of April 2022. We're glad that you're up and early once again to start the day with us here on KBC Channel 1. The show on air right now is Good Morning Kenya. How is the weather like wherever you are? Nairobi, it had some light showers overnight, but the weatherman said that certain parts of the country will experience some short rains. So, yeah, be ready for that. And politically speaking, a lot happened. The DP Ruto now has the backing of 12 parties, and we'll be discussing that one later on in the next hour, as well as the biting fuel shortage in the country. We all agree that without fuel, life becomes difficult. I don't know. Jeno unaipataje?
Well, I think we have all witnessed petrol stations are still full. I believe they even people who are spending almost the entire night queuing at petrol stations. Other people are stranded because they cannot be able to get fuel at the closest petrol station. So unakaa tu hapo unangoja, unatumana to the next county to get fuel. It's a major crisis, and at least as of yesterday, the ministry gave some tough recommendations to some oil marketers that were noted to be importing petroleum at this particular time when we're having this crisis. They're exporting them at the expense of the crisis in the country. So yesterday, there's some consequences that were set in motion, which we'll be letting you know in not too long. But in the meantime, welcome to the program. I'm Jane Wamboi.
Good morning, Jane. I didn't even say good morning.
But honestly,
mafuta imekasirisha Victor.
Inakasirisha kila mtu. But also, I'm just thinking, don't we need to find a balance? Because just from what you're saying there, Jane, as it was mentioned by the ministry there, that yes, there's some oil marketers that are actually exporting oil to Uganda, and we obviously know that in that particular country it's expensive compared to Kenya. I think it retails at 164, if I'm not wrong. Here it goes at 134 per litre of petrol. And again, these are business people. I mean, just as a Kenyan, I'm also feeling the pinch. But also, can the state release the money that they owe to the oil marketers? Right now, we have a new row where the oil marketers are saying that the state owes them 20 billion. The state was saying that it was 13 billion. They've only released 8.2. So really?
Hapa ndio anasemanga biashara mbaya. Regina, and maybe you can even just give us a brief, condensed version of, what we can expect in the next few days to come, considering that they're going to now put a leash on them, looking at the imports that will be coming for the next cycle.
Tomorrow.
Ahead of the new prices,
let me take you back to January. Let's start this conversation from January.
From where it began.
And when we were reviewing, the cost of fuel has been consistently going up. Yes. And at some point, it flatlined, so to speak, or plateaued. However, OMs were still taking a cool 5 bob or 4 shillings from every sale per litre, in a deal, with the government and such. But what you need to know is that every time you go to the pump, you contribute to the petroleum levy. So the government here is at fault for holding and keeping and holding on to that particular monies from that kitty, because it was set up to, cushion Kenyans from high cost of fuel. Given, we do not generate or produce our own fuel. We are yet to get there. So global market demands, supply chain issues now that have been exacerbated by this Russia-Ukraine thing. But remember, we do Mubane or Mabane, depending on how you pronounce it. So we bring in this commodity at least 6 months or 3 months prior. But remember, when this cargo is on transit, things change. Issues of supply, distribution, and such. OMs are saying that we need to also factor in, once we have bought whatever it is we have bought, and when we are bringing it into the country. When we bought it 3 months or 6 months before, the prevailing circumstances were different. Here we are. Can we have, and this is where they're calling that for, an open kind of market, where now EPRA does not regulate the price of fuel. And I'm thinking, if we're going to leave it to the OMs to actually decide,
that will be chaotic.
How much you're going to be paying for a litre of super petrol or diesel will be
like
in for
200
We do not want to go there.
I think the problem
with the kitty, with the kitty fine, we are somewhat cushioned, right? by EPRA, because there's that levy where the government draws from to try and compensate, or rather bridge the operational costs or gaps, so to speak. Now, the situation we find ourselves in is that last week, but one, government comes out and says, you know what, we had been holding on to your 34.2, I think, billion shillings in as far as the subsidy is concerned, and we have released it. Information we got yesterday from OMs is that government has only released 8.2. The rest, Treasury is still holding on to it, and Treasury is quiet.
8.2 from 34.4?
Yes. So 8 is what is already released. Tomorrow, we're expecting that EPRA is going to give us our monthly review. And these people are playing a game called, you know, we are, you know, when you're prospecting for land, so now they're prospecting for fuel. That this when is going to go up, yes, it's going to go up, and there's already high demand. So even if they say tomorrow we're going to be buying a super petrol at the cost of 200 bob, my friend, we will buy.
Yeah.
So it is a reign of oil barons. We find ourselves in this position.
But I think Regina, it baffles me when we say it's 8.2, and actually the PS mentioned that last week, and he said that in the next few days they'll release the remaining balance. I mean, few days should already be over. What really is happening there? And
last week we also saw a ship docking in the coast.
100 million liters.
100 million liters of fuel. Before that, before we got to this situation, KPC gave us a statement and said that we don't need to panic.
We have enough reserves.
We have enough reserve.
So
Sasa, we are walking around with jerry cans.
So we are panicking.
Not of water, but now of fuel.
Yeah.
And it's also a disaster in waiting, because you're not supposed to carry petrol in plastic.
Yeah.
People are carrying it in plastic. It's supposed to be.
So who is speaking the truth, Regina? The Ministry of Energy, Ministry of the Treasury. You know.
EPRA, oil marketers.
You get it. So, I mean,
it's a crazy market out there, but nonetheless, I think that's one of the main stories on the front page of the Daily Nation that we will definitely be discussing once we get to the second part of ITH. But for now, I think we should just get started with the news. Over to you, Regina.
Thank you very much. And we open this conversation to you. Yesterday, we were asking you, when was the last time you fueled and where did you fuel? That is the same question that we're asking. We've seen on a spot check that, you know, a majority of these outlets are either, you know, not serving customers or only serving those that use diesel. Why super petrol is not available? A little bird somewhere, while we were doing this particular spot check, told me that that fuel that you're buying, that petrol that you're buying, is actually V-Power. Well, I'm not an expert, but hey, we have to survive, isn't it? Good morning once again. You're watching Good Morning Kenya, and I'm Regina Manyara. We are open to have you join in this conversation. You can get us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. Now, we start off with an update in as far as the fuel crisis is concerned, with motorists saying the persisting fuel crisis is slowly bringing critical operations to a halt. Those who spent hours in long queues waiting to fuel are calling for interventions to address the shortage. Zainab Said reports.
Kutoka Thika sasa niko Kiambu, kuna mafuta. Thika road iko, lakini line inatoka hapa. Line kubwa. Over like gari ta 50. Hata sioni sasa ni kuenda niweke kagari nichukue sasa matatu.
It's not enough. Actually, my car doesn't have any gas right now, so that's why I've been queuing here for long now.
Kama mimi ni dereva wa taxi, gari yangu imeishia mafuta huko, na nilikuwa na customer ametoroka, hakuna hata pesa ameniwachia, tena nimerudi kwa mfuko kwa ile pesa nilikuwa nimepata asubuhi.
Juu hiyo 1000 kama mimi haiwezi fanya kazi ile nataka kufanya.
On Monday last week, the government announced it had released 34.4 billion shillings to clear outstanding arrears owed to fuel marketers for the fuel subsidy program that has been in place since June last year.
Mimi nikakukawa nimefika, lakini badala ya kuwekewa kukawa na commotion sijui ya watu wa pikipiki. Sasa mimi nikabaki tu hapa.
And on Thursday last week, Energy Cabinet Secretary Monica Juma was at Kipevu Oil Terminal to receive a vessel that brought in 100 million litres of fuel. This was expected to ease fuel supply challenges that have been witnessed across the country over the last 3 weeks.
Kuenda kupika siasa inakuwa ni ngumu sababu sina mafuta. Gari zangu zote hazina mafuta, simekaa, simelala.
Kazi wa bodaboda na limeniadhiri kiwango cha wiki mzima.
Mafuta kama lita moja tulikuwa tunauziwa 300. Na ile place tunaendea mafuta ni mbali.
Now, those were just some of the views from, the public that we sampled when we're doing a spot check on the fuel situation in the country. It is not just within Nairobi County, also other various counties, and worse still is the North Rift, where reports are coming in that, Kenyans are buying, or rather motorists are buying this precious commodity at even 180 shillings per litre of super petrol. With tomorrow set to be the day where EPRA gives us our monthly review prices, Kenyans are opining that we might actually see this commodity the prices go up. Well, if it does happen, we're sure going to be keeping you informed over that development. Now we cross over to matters politics, where 8 more political parties have joined the Kenya Kwanza Alliance led by Deputy President William Ruto ahead of the August 9th general election. Though the parties will retain their distinct identities, they will campaign as one for the alliance's presidential candidate. During the signing of the pact, Deputy President termed the move by the parties to clear demonstration that Kenyans identify with the aspirations of Kenya Kwanza.
Kwanza Alliance had until Tuesday morning 4 political parties under the umbrella coalition after the Democratic Party led by National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi joined the outfit. 8 political parties Tuesday signing up to join the coalition, bringing the total number of parties under Kenya Kwanza to 12. Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria's Chama cha Kazi, Embu Governor Martin Wambora's Umoja na Maendeleo Party, former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo's Tujibebe wa Kenya Party, former Agriculture CS Mwangi Kiunjuri's TSP, the Farmers Party, the Economic Freedom Party, the Devolution Party of Kenya, and the Communist Party of Kenya, pledging to work together with other parties in Kenya Kwanza to advance economic prosperity in the country.
Change the fortunes of our citizens and put money in people's pockets. The alliance on the other side is about changing the constitution. That's where the difference is.
Kenya Kwanza wants to put the Kenyans ahead of everything else.
We want Kenya where everybody lives with dignity and everybody demands and gets respect.
Baada ya tarehe 9 tutawapatia wa Kenya matumaini.
Deputy President William Ruto and his co-principals taking a swipe at their rivals in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, accusing them of advancing politics of deceit.
Blindfold people into an agreement that they have not read, that they have not understood, and that they later have to complain about. I think it is the height of impunity. The worst form of corruption is the corruption of trust.
What we are seeing somewhere else is that there is a resurrection of that trust deficit.
The parties under Kenya Kwanza say they have coalesced willingly, accusing a section of political actors of attempting to interfere with their affairs.
Hatukusukumwa wala kuvurutwa. Na ni kwa sababu lengo letu kama chama cha Tujibebe ni kuinua hali ya maisha wa Kenya.
I forgot how to lose elections 20 years ago. I forgot. I don't know how to. And we are going to win this one. Make no mistake.
I want to order you, mara moja, kutoka leo, all the posters, all the billboards will bear the picture of our great leader, William Ruto, mara moja.
The alliance is hopeful that it will trounce its rivals in under 120 days.
Now, while that was happening, the Orange Democratic Movement fraternity eulogized the late Jotham Nyukuri, who was a trustee of the party, as a loyal servant who gave it all for the Orange Party. Speaking at a ceremony to celebrate the life of the late Nyukuri, the party secretary general Edwin Sifuna said it will take time before ODM finds another trustee like him. Sentiments echoed by party's treasurer Timothy Bosire, who termed the late Nyukuri as an important source of wisdom.
For you to become a trustee of ODM, I am telling you, my friend, you must be trusted from toe to hair. We have lost an extremely important pillar of ODM. In fact, I can assure you that we will scratch our heads for at least another 1 year just to find somebody of the standing and stature to take that place of the trustee for the party. So nataka niseme pole sana kwa familia.
Was a humble mse, was a leader, was a committed member of the party, and he was determined to see the party through for national leadership in this country. He has gone at that time. We have very high expectations that is about to happen. But life being what it is, we wish the family comfort. You have lost an asset in your family and in your community, but together we extend warm prayers so that you may find solace in the Lord as you go through this.
Still on matters politics, Azimio la Umoja Executive Director Raphael Tuju has dismissed claims of a fallout in the Raila Odinga-led Azimio One Kenya coalition. Speaking after chairing a meeting of all Azimio OCA Secretary Generals, Tuju said the coalition is intact and focused on winning the August 9 polls.
A day after One Kenya Alliance coalition allegedly wrote to the Registrar of Political Parties to stop the process of registering Azimio One Kenya Alliance, Azimio la Umoja Executive Director Raphael Tuju has addressed the emerging cracks in the political faction, saying the coalition is intact and any turbulence in the Azimio One Kenya Alliance will be resolved.
We are consulting on how we're going to move forward. We have generally agreed that we'll be guided by the very important principles of guiding a big coalition such as ours. We have agreed on what our goal is. Our goal is that our presidential candidate wins on 9th of August, and everything else, that is the beacon we are looking at, and all of us standing here, there's consensus on that.
Elsewhere, Kiambu Governor hopeful Patrick Wainaina has dispelled rumors making rounds on social media that he had withdrawn from the race in support for Senator Kimani Wamatangi. The Thika town legislator, who will be battling it out with Wamatangi and former Governor Ferdinand Waititu for the UDA ticket during the party nominations slated for Thursday this week, termed the claims as ill-timed propaganda.
Safari hii wananchi wa Kiambu, tafadhali muangalie mtu, muangalie track record, ile kazi amefanya. Usiende ukachagua mtu na hana kazi amefanya. Wakati huu ama safari hii tunataka kuangalia mtu kama anaweza kufanya ile kazi, tunataka kuangalia uaminifu wa yule mtu, tunataka kuangalia kama huyu mtu anaweza fanya kazi na wengine, na Wainaina wa Jango akona uaminifu, amejitolea kufanya hii kazi na amejitolea kuwa anaungana na wananchi wa Kiambu. Tujenge Kiambu, tuibadilishe ikiwe na maji, barabara, hawa vijana wapate riziki.
And Nyeri Senator Ephraim Maina gubernatorial bid on a Jubilee ticket received a major boost after teachers from primary and secondary schools backed him. Led by officials of Kenya National Union of Teachers Nyeri branch, the teachers termed Maina as a corrupt free man.
The successful governments have not been good enough to the teachers, teaching fraternity in this country, because the teachers today are going through all forms of hardships, especially with the county governments. They don't seem to recognize them. For example, in Nyeri at all.
Meanwhile, former Energy CS Charles Keter has suffered a blow in the race for Kericho governorship after two of his competitors teamed up ahead of Thursday's party nominations. Dr. Eric Mutai, one of the frontrunners for the Kericho gubernatorial seat, and engineer Fred Kirui resolved to work together as a team.
This decision was arrived at after wide consultation with the people of Kericho County.
Yes.
This unity of purpose is meant to enhance the quality of service delivery and spur economic development of our great county.
First Lady Margaret Kenyatta has called for collaborative efforts in ending the coronavirus pandemic. Speaking during the inauguration of the International Conference on Health Promotion, the First Lady said an information gap has reduced the vaccine uptake in Kenya, reversing gains in tackling the disease. Ruth Wamboy reports.
Welcome, Your Excellency.
The theme of the two-day International Conference on Health Promotion is promoting health during and beyond COVID-19. In her opening remarks, the First Lady Margaret Kenyatta said the pandemic has brought a change of mindset in how people go about their daily activities.
Efficacy of the COVID-19 has determined that the vaccines increase our protection from the virus. We are not safe unless we are all vaccinated. Going forward, we must ensure that our health promotion efforts are inclusive.
She said despite disrupting lives and livelihoods, the pandemic has offered lessons that will help nations cope with such crises in future.
This is why it is critical that we share our lessons and learnings from this pandemic and align our recovery measures with long-term sustainable strategies. Most notable has been the important contribution of health promotion in tackling the challenge of the COVID-19 threat.
Sentiments echoed by UNICEF Country Director Dr. Maniza Zaman and other stakeholders who called for nations to double their efforts if they are to realize the Sustainable Development Goals within the 8 years remaining.
We need to redouble our efforts, innovate, accelerate, and especially find ways to reach those who are being left behind.
Time is ripe for us to begin reconceptualization of how health promotion will support the generation of health for current and future generations.
However, Kenyans argue that focus on attaining the SDGs should not lose sight of the disruption of livelihoods by the pandemic.
I should be a little person who should fight against those problems in our times. So even if it means wearing masks, that is not a problem to me.
More than 2 years down the line after the pandemic struck, what are the hits and misses for nations? Only this 2 days conference here will pardon the answers.
Now on to Parliament, where individuals who lose a party, or rather lose out at the party primaries, will have 10 days to shift from political parties and run as independent candidates in the next general election. This comes after legislators adopted amendments in the Election Amendment Bill 2022 seeking to give the 10-day window for disgruntled aspirants to jump ship. The resolution now renders a legislation proposed by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission inapplicable.
With the deadline of party nominations fast approaching, individuals who may feel shortchanged can now breathe a sigh of relief. Legislators on Tuesday overturned proposals in the Political Parties Act that sought to block losers in the party nominations from contesting as independent.
If people complain, let them come, let them go independent, and let us face each other off. So that window of 10 days, Madam Speaker, I'm okay with it, because so that people don't feel that they are being oppressed.
While endorsing amendments in the Elections Amendment Bill 2022, the lawmakers approved the 10-day window, claiming the move would enhance democracy in the political arena.
They should be given that opportunity And this, Madam Chair, I think will put parties in check so that you don't apply anything that maybe might not be applicable as far as democracy is concerned.
At the same time, MPs opposed proposals by IEBC barring media houses from broadcasting live electoral results, claiming the Commission does not have the mandate to bar live broadcasting under the law.
IEBC has no business in regulating what TV stations do. That is for somebody else to regulate. Once they announce their results, once they put the results in the portal, other broadcasters can now use that information without having IEBC being the one regulating or determining how that live streaming will take place. We should not have a problem with nomination, with elections, just because we can now not take it to the people to see what the polling stations have done. There must be a legal framework for doing that transmission. It is transmission that was the problem, was the issue of post-election violence, not the way Kenyans went to vote. It was the transmission problem. So to say that we can have an election without transmission, I think is idle.
On that note, we take a quick break. We'll be right back with more news. Do keep it right here.
Technologies grow, and so you need to be in the know. We bring you tech news from all over the world.
Me, I understand science revolves around life.
Tech policies and programs. Take on Tech has your back. Coming to your screens every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1. Join me, Stephanie Ayeta and Grace Gidaiga as we serve you with only the best tech updates the world over.
From the front line in eastern Ukraine as forces prepare.
Good morning. This is In the Headlines on KBC Channel 1, and I'm Regina Manyara. Now we bring you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines across the counties, with Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha calling on schools with pending projects on CBC classroom construction to complete them ahead of the school reopening in May. The CS noted although the competency-based curriculum classroom construction project had hit 90% rate countrywide, some counties like Machakos were still lagging behind. Brian Wendy has more details from the counties.
Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has lauded the progress of the construction of CBC classrooms, saying they've achieved a 90% completion rate and urged counties still lagging behind to move with speed and complete the project.
We have constructed over 5,000 classrooms, with the remaining ones nearing completion. Most of them are at roofing and finishing level. I believe that we shall deliver, so that I can brief His Excellency the President that the first 6,487 classrooms are completely built.
Meanwhile, healthcare stakeholders from the private sector as well as the national and county governments converge in Nairobi to deliberate on Kenya's digital health innovation towards the universal health coverage agenda.
The conference comes at a time when the health sector is fast adapting to the use of technology to address healthcare challenges, while at the same time improving efficiency in the way service delivery is done.
Elsewhere, Rotary International has allocated over 4 million shillings towards the protection of water springs in Ugunja sub-county in Siaya County. The project will be implemented through the Nairobi Utumishi Club will see the rehabilitation of 30 springs with the aim to improve the community's quality of life through provision of clean water.
In this particular project of water, our concern is that water being health, giving people clean, safe water is improving the quality of life. And for this project, we have a total of 30 springs to be protected.
Finally, a family of Udaward aspirant in Mombasa County is crying for justice and thorough investigations into the death of their kin who allegedly died in police custody. According to his brother Billy Musakali, the late Andrew Musakali was picked from his home in Jomvuku, Jomvi constituency Monday night by alleged police officers from Makindani police station for allegedly failing to pay 50,000 shillings debt.
Kama alikuwa kweli ameenda kuchukuliwa nyumbani, kama ameenda kuchukuliwa nyumbani, si lazima kuna mtu mlalamishi huwa ameandika. Lakini pale haiko kivipi? Pana nini? Yani pana nini panajiri pale?
The counties, now the government has enhanced capacity to combat terrorism by coming up with guidelines intended to improve the organizational partnership between investigative agencies and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. Speaking in Nairobi during the launch of the guidelines, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nordine Haji, said the guidelines will bolster the fight against money laundering and terrorism financing in Kenya. Timothy Kipnusu has the details.
Cooperation between investigative agencies has undermined the war on terrorism.
At the cornerstone of the global fight against terrorism is the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1373, which called on all member states to work together urgently through increased cooperation and full implementation of the relevant international conventions relating to terrorism.
It is for this reason that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, in collaboration with the criminal justice actors and civil society organizations, introduced stringent guidelines that will enhance synergy among them in the war on money laundering and financing of terrorism in Kenya.
I would like to emphasize that these guidelines are intended to serve as a resource for stakeholders as they work to ensure the investigation and prosecution of terrorism and related offenses, including financing terrorism, is conducted in accordance with the rule of law.
Inspector General of Police Hirali Mutiambai and the Central Bank of Kenya Governor Patrick Njoroge concurred on the need to enhance capacity to deal with the emerging trends of terrorism.
Private sector also, including banks, money remittance providers, and mobile network services providers, also have valuable contribution to make in the effort to combat terrorism financing.
We have suffered as well in Europe, and it is in the end a global phenomenon that does require collaboration. It requires collaboration between agencies in a country, but then also collaboration across countries.
Now, the government will establish more rehabilitation centers to accommodate the rising number of street children. Nairobi County representative of the Family and Children Services Department, Robert Mwema, is now asking Kenyans to support the government's rehabilitation efforts. He said this will rid the county of street families, apart from improving shelter to the homeless.
Kenya joined the rest of the world to celebrate the International Day of Street Children at various centers across the country. At St. John's Community Center, Pumwani, Nairobi, reformed street children from different rehabilitation centers came together to showcase their talents. Representatives of the several street children consortiums were here too as part of this year's theme, celebrating frontline workers and protecting every child. Despite previous successes in rescuing and bringing some street children back to their centers, a lot of work still needs to be done.
The civil society does their work, the government does their work, but at the end of the day, there is no coordination to ensure that everything works out smoothly.
Hiyo life ya street ilikuwa ngumu sana, na ile life nilipitia, mbona it's high time sisi wenye tumereform, we can make change. Ndio maana tunaona ni muhimu. Kozi kiatu tushaiva.
The tough life in the streets has also seen many hold on to rehabilitation centers.
Nimeona maisha ya street ni ngumu. Hapo maisha inaenda. Hata maaskari wenyewe zitaka tulale saa hii. Wanatufuguza, wanasema tunafuta hizi vitu mbaya mbaya. Sasa nimeamua kurudi shule niende Kamulu. Naweza furahia sana nikipelekwa.
Ningependa kwenda kwa center, lakini bado kuna ma street boy kadhaa bado tunao, kama tunaweza na wao sawa. Pia wasaidike.
The county government is now working on a policy that aims to reducing the population of street children to almost zero.
We have a draft now, and even in this forum, we are getting views from the children, both from the institutions and from the streets. We implement the 4R model, which is rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration, and resocialization.
For these children, unless the society changes its attitudes towards them, the miseries will never end anytime soon.
Ukiona chokora kwa barabara msaidie muokoe sikia shida zake.
The consortiums gathered here today are calling on the national and county governments to boost efforts geared towards rehabilitating street children and families back into the society, even as they look towards a street children-free Kenya.
Now, on to matters business, the government has issued an alert of a possible increase in the African armyworm invasion in 11 counties, namely Taita Taveta, Murang'a, Tharaka Nithi, Makueni, Kitui, Kajiado, Nakuru, Narok, Kwale and Kilifi. Savo, Amboseli and Masai Mara National Reserves have also been identified as massive breeding grounds for the destructive pests that have been sighted in Western Kenya and parts of Rift Valley. The African armyworm is a migratory moth, the caterpillars of which are important pests of pastures and cereal crops. Over time, population increases and mass migration of moths occur, covering many thousands of square kilometers and traversing international boundaries, posing a threat to food security and pasture for livestock. Owing to delayed rains, the government is on high alert over a possible explosion of the invasive pest in at least 11 counties. The Ministry of Agriculture is monitoring Taita Taveta, Murang'a, Tharaka Nithi, Makueni, Kitui, Kajiado, Nakuru, Narok, Kwale and Kilifi counties, as well as the game reserves such as Savo, Amboseli and Masai Mara that have been identified as breeding grounds for the destructive pests.
Peter Munya akiwa waziri wa kilimo Kenya mzima atuangalie sisi kama wakazi wa Bumula sub-county eneo la Naholo tunateseka na hii janga ambalo limetukumba. Tunaomba serikali ingilie kati kwa sababu sisi ni wakulima hohehahe.
Mwaka huu imekuwa mabadiliko kubwa sana. Watu wanaenda kuumia. Chakula hakuna, maji hakuna. Chakula yenye watu walikuwa wamepanda mahindi, mdudu amekuja amevamia. Sasa hakuna kitu yote kwa shamba.
So far, the pests have been reported in Western Kenya and parts of Rift Valley.
Minister wa kilimo wa kaunti ya Bungoma, hasa sana tuna matajiri ambao wanajiweza, wanaweza nunua dawa wakaweze kupuliza, lakini tuna wengine hawajiwezi kununua dawa. Kwa hivyo ningeomba kwa wale ambao hawajapuliza mashamba yao, viongozi wakaweze kutembea kwa kila shamba katika kila kijiji wakaweze kupuliza, ndio posa tukaweze kuangamiza hawa wadudu.
Owing to the pest's short life cycle, high reproductive capacity and mobility, the Ministry of Agriculture is calling for reactivation implementation of community-based surveillance and monitoring to ascertain presence and control measures such as spraying.
Mvua ikinyesha, hata saa hii mvua ikinyesha itapotea. Itaingia kwa mchanga na ingia itakuwa pepeo hii.
Now, neighboring Uganda has already issued a notification that invasion is already in the country. The African armyworm there, where its most destructive stage is at the larvae stage. We'll keep tabs on that. 11 counties put on notice and high alert to have even the youth who have been trained in spraying actually come out and help after they have confirmed the sightings of this particular invasive pest. Now on to matters technology, where Kenya will construct more than 100,000 kilometers of high-speed fiber optic cable connecting all public institutions like schools and government offices. This will also see the government digitize more than 5 billion records in the next 10 years. The plan is contained in the National Digital Master Plan that was launched yesterday by ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Mucheru. O'Brien Kimani breaks down the master plan.
Is to become a globally competitive ICT hub, and this will take the collaboration between the public as well as the private sector. The National Digital Master Plan outlines how that dream is going to be achieved. The National Digital Master Plan deals with 3 key aspects in the development of the ICT sector in the country. The document identifies human capital and workforce development, which aims at developing quality ICT human resources as a prerequisite to the development of viable ICT sector. ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Mucheru says the document will ensure that ICT development, implementation and exploitation are an integral and sustainable component of Kenya's development.
This master plan will outline a structured roadmap on the delivery of ICT infrastructure and services, as well as the development of ICT skills. It will also provide guidance on investment priorities to both local and external investors.
Under the 10-year plan, the government plans to build an integrated ICT infrastructure which seeks to provide the infrastructure backbone required to enable cost-effective delivery of ICT products and services in Kenya. This will involve laying over 100,000 kilometers of high-speed fiber optic cable across the entire country.
We've managed to achieve a lot over the last 10 years, which among them is deployment of over 9,000 kilometers of national fiber optic network across the country. We have also managed to train over 2,100 ICT interns to be able to support the industry.
To upskill the public service, 300,000 public service employees will undergo ICT reskilling, which will be undertaken with the help of the Public Service Commission. Already, the government, in conjunction with the Chinese technology giant Huawei, has set a target of training 20,000 public servants in the next 3 years.
The ICT sector is vital in promoting the socio-economic development of our country, as it has the potential to radically and speedily transform every sector of our economy through innovation and digitization.
The implementation of the master plan is estimated to cost more than 4 trillion shillings, which will be sourced from the public coffers as well as the private sector.
Now, the government is contemplating on importing powdered milk to plug a deficit occasioned by drought. Livestock Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai says the government is awaiting a report from the Meteorological Department on the onset and intensity of the long rains to inform importation of the powdered milk.
Most retail outlets have in recent weeks been facing challenges securing supplies after milk production reduced due to the prolonged drought. The government says the retail price of milk could increase as processors in some regions have increased the farm gate price from 40 shillings to 52 shillings. Livestock Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai says the government is exploring importation of powder milk to help stabilize supplies and prices.
Assessing the situation as of now, we are yet to make a decision because we are looking at the projections. If the rains delay, we might have to look at all options, because for us it is important that we have enough milk in the country so that we're able to continue sustaining the country.
Modalities such as zero rating dairy products are also on the cards, as the government awaits an advisory from the meteorological department.
Will we grant waiver of duty if it's not coming from the ESC region? Because with the duty, it will become expensive. So those are the possibilities that we are looking at, but we'll make the correct decision at the correct time based on all the facts that we'll have collected.
This comes after Kenya lost millions of shillings in revenue after Oman cancelled dairy products orders due to supply constraints.
New KCC had done a projection that by April they will be able now to have enough to export to Oman because it was going to coincide with the month of Ramadan. But as I said, it was not possible because of the delayed rains.
Uganda, where Kenya sources dairy products, is also experiencing shortages of milk due to drought.
Now, just in case you have been wondering why when you go to purchase milk, especially in retail outlets, it is limited to at least 6 packs of 500 ml. It is because of that particular situation. Government is yet to assess and receive a report that may actually see the government importing powdered milk to bridge the deficit. Now to the corporate scene, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya has inaugurated Engineer Eric Ohaga as the new president of the engineering body. Engineer Ohaga has promised to work closely with the University Dean's Council to finalize the Memorandum of Understanding with the Commission for University Education to ensure that the challenges facing the accreditation of engineering programs is dealt with. Details of this and others from the corporate scene.
The duties of the president.
Engineer Eric Ohaga received the mantle from his predecessor, Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, as the new president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. Engineer Ohaga says he is keen on the finalization of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Commission for University Education to address challenges of accreditation of engineering programs. He says this will ensure that the Engineers Board of Kenya is able to assure the rest of the world that programs in Kenya are up to international standards and fast-track Kenya's journey towards joining the International Engineering Alliance.
We shall carefully review what has been done and to what extent, and based on our assessment, make considerations on the various approaches to take.
Meanwhile, the Association of Medical Engineering of Kenya has finalized training on their new mobile app that will enhance repair and maintenance of medical equipment. The association's chairman, Simon Mbaka, says the new technology would promote better service delivery to patients as well as cut costs for hospitals.
Health applications, more connected health solutions, where you enter names of the patient, get the results, and have maybe a cloud-based solution for data.
CFAO Kenya has invested in Ofgen Limited, a leader in solar PV installation for commercial and industrial use in Eastern Africa. CFAO Kenya Chairman Ambassador Dennis Awori says the investment will help CFAO Group accelerate the penetration of the commercial and industrial renewable energy market. He says CFAO Kenya plans to equip all its facilities in East and Southern Africa region with photovoltaic panels to reduce carbon emissions by more than 1,000 tons annually by the year 2024.
The Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC, is against a proposal that litigants deposit at least 50% of the disputed tax revenue in a special account at the Central Bank of Kenya, saying it could have far-reaching consequences. ISPAC says a 50% deposit is a colossal amount that could cripple many businesses as well as deter foreign direct investments.
Companies locked in tax disputes with Kenya Revenue Authority are likely to face liquidity challenges following a proposal by the National Treasury to deposit half of the disputed tax in government coffers. In the Finance Bill 2022, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani has proposed an amendment to the Tax Tribunal Act of 2013 to require firms locked in a tax dispute with the Kenya Revenue Authority to deposit 50% of the disputed tax revenue in a special account at the Central Bank of Kenya. The Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, ISPAC, says the move should be declared unconstitutional as Article 48 of the Constitution requires that the state to ensure access to justice for all persons, and if any fee is required, it shall be reasonable and shall not impede access to justice.
50% deposit is a colossal amount and will cripple many businesses in the economy and deter foreign direct investment into the country.
ISPAC says to be fair to both parties, such a requirement should also apply to KRA.
KRA should at the very least also deposit 50% of refunds due to taxpayers where KRA appeals a tribunal decision in favor of the taxpayer.
ISPAC wants the 50% deposit requirement proposal deleted from the Finance Bill 2022 pending extensive stakeholder consultations and agreement.
Remember, we are yet to have the Finance Bill 2022 presented in Parliament. This is going to definitely inform how government raises the revenue it requires to take care of its business in the financial year 2022-2023 that comes into effect in July. It is also going to quite determine how much you get to use personally or how much you have in your pocket. We're going to be keeping tabs on that. But now we cross to matters sports, where the Kenya national women deaf football team has intensified training at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, Nairobi, now ahead of the delayed 2021 Summer Deaf Olympics to be held from the 1st to the 15th of May in Brazil. The team, alongside the athletics, basketball, golf and handball teams, have been in camp at the same venue for the last 12 days.
The Kenya national women deaf football team has continued to train at the Kasarani Stadium 18 days before the Deaf Olympics begin in Brazil. The team, alongside athletics men and women, basketball men and women, golf men and handball men and women, have been in camp at the same venue since 1st of April. In Brazil, the Kenya national women deaf football team will play the host, champion Denmark, Japan and the United States. Head coach Ben Bella says the players are responding well to training, but singled out the defense as the department that needs to spend more hours on ahead of their trip to Brazil.
I'll be working on my defense because it's as if I'm building a new team compared to the one we had last year. Fortunately, we have good defenders. We selected in Kakamega early in the year. And I believe with the setup we have and the set of players we have and what we've been doing so far, the response is very positive, and I believe we are raring to go.
In Brazil, the team might be forced to cope with a small squad of 19 players and not 22 from the initial 35 who made it to the professional squad after some were dropped due to documentation.
Africa 100 meters record holder Ferdinand Omanyala of Kenya is aiming for a sub-10 finish during the fourth leg of the ASA Athletics Grand Prix Series at the Garrimston Athletic Stadium in Joburg. Tomorrow night, Omanyala clocked 10 seconds to win 100 meters during the third leg of the ASA Athletics Grand Prix Series in Potchefstroom, South Africa last Wednesday.
African sprint sensation Ferdinand Omanyala will compete tomorrow night against Akani Simbine of South Africa at the Jamestown Athletic Stadium in Johannesburg. However, in this highly anticipated race, Omanyala is more focused on running under 10 seconds more than beating his counterpart Akani.
Preparations toward the season is going on well. I just came from the indoor season, the 60 meters, which was a perfect training. Coming into the outdoor season, I already started my outdoor season with a world leader then, the 10-0, but now it's number 3 in the world because now people are running. So I'm looking forward to more competitions.
Omanyala stopped the clock at 10.11 seconds to win the 100 meters during the third leg of the ASA Athletics Grand Prix Series at the NW MacArthur Athletic Stadium in Potchefstroom last Wednesday. Omanyala is using the ASA Athletics Grand Prix Series as part of his preparations for the African Senior Track and Field Championship set to be held in Mauritius in June this year, and the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England in July, where he wants to wrestle Simbine's respective 100 meters title. He also wants to secure a podium finish at the World Championship in Oregon, USA in August.
Now that effectively puts a cap on matters news this morning. Remember, further details are still available on our website. That is www.kbc.co.ke. For those who are not able to actually, sit in front of a television set, well, we are streaming live, and I can see a majority of you are online. We have Tony there, or Anthony there, who is watching from his office, saying it's good to catch up with the news from KBC Channel 1. Asante sana. We have Tom Mwema, who is also in Nairobi watching us, as well as Jackson Gashusha, who is also watching from Nairobi area. Remember, we also value your feedback, so get tweeting. We have a lot of questions and for you, especially where the fuel crisis is concerned. Tomorrow being the 14th, where we're expecting the fuel review. What are your expectations, given that the long queues are characterizing those fuel stations that have that commodity? Do you expect that the prices of fuel are going to go up, and why? Get tweeting. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1. I'm Regina Manyara. We'll be right back with what we have on our various dailies in not too long. Do not go away.
Now, let's just pick it up from that particular point. I start you off with the Daily Nation, that particular story concerning the state of fuel and oil farms in our country is actually the main read on this front page. Here they go on to say oil farms burn their fingers. Now, a clique of rogue oil marketers are facing financial losses after the state approved chops on their import allocation as punishment for abetting in the petroleum intermittent crisis that we have been seeing through higher exports. Now, despite the shortages in the domestic outlets, they have caused motorist businesses and many Kenyans untold suffering. Now, this story has been covered here in proper detail. So, in simpler terms, looking at the next 3 cycles of fuel that will be brought into the country, there are some particular oil marketers that will have a shorter leash. The allocation that is normally given to them is going to be reduced because of this situation that they have resorted to export oil to our neighboring countries and petroleum products to our neighboring countries at the expense of the Kenyan and the local market, and they're exporting at a higher price and not catering to the crisis that we are witnessing here in the country. And yesterday, the Petroleum Ministry did give a nod to EPRA to proceed with this quote-unquote punishment on oil marketers. And let me just read for you as it was read. Quote-unquote, EPRA hereby recommends that in the allocation of capacity for the next 3 import cycles, key considerations should be given to the reduction of capacity share for all OMCs who increase their transit volume over and above the normal during this supply crisis period. So this is yet to take effect, but of course tomorrow is a day that so many Kenyans are waiting, or rather the 14th, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is 14th. Yes, it is tomorrow. It is a day that so many Kenyans are waiting to hear. You know, actually yesterday, there was a piece of paper that was circulating on social media, which had a list of petrol stations that actually have fuel. Guys are just sending out the word, by the way, if you don't have fuel, go to any of these, utapata mafuta. Tumefika hapo.
Someone said, and this is on a very, very, very light note, I know what the government says about smoking weed. But someone was saying, squeeze petroli ni kama kuvuta bangi.
Manze.
Everybody's looking for it, but no one wants to say where it is before they get their fix, right? It's on a very light note. Very light note.
Inaenda chain sasa. That particular list.
It's just Kenyans trying to find a light moment in the midst of the hardships.
It's really sad, man, having to see these queues. And the fact of the matter still remains, there is fuel in the country.
That is the saddest part, by the way.
But the oil marketers are saying to be hoarding. And this goes back to a story that was also here on the Daily Nation yesterday when they actually put a spotlight on Ruby's, which is the third largest oil marketer in the country, for #1 withholding and rationing sales.
Yeah.
So it is one of those oil marketing companies that might actually face these consequences. We are not saying it will, it's just one of them. They have actually gone to highlight Vivo as the largest, followed by Total Energies coming in second, and Ruby's coming in at third position. They are the 3 largest oil marketers in the country. And Ruby's, it was noted that some of the petrol stations, kuna kamaneno kanaendelea. But nonetheless, coming back to the front page of the Daily Nation, politics, of course, also finds its way here. Uhuru and Raila fight Azimio storm as Ruto camp seals deal. So it was a day of contrast for the 2 leading parties. On one side, Azimio was having a crisis meeting to quell the unrest that is going on. And of course, this was catalyzed further by the protest letters that was written by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. And on the other extreme end, UDA, rather Ruto, was able to pen an agreement with 11 party leaders supporting his presidential bid. And this particular deal, of course, is going to be forwarded to the Registrar of Political Parties. All this happened yesterday. We'll be giving you details in just a bit. And finally, Form 1 placement. Parents are now scrambling to get transfers based on the schools that the children have been allocated. So many parents are saying that, given this time that we are in with the elections, we would prefer our children closer to us during this time in case of any emergencies. But I will be letting you know what principals had to say in response to this. Victor.
All right, so if you thought that as Kenyans we are having serious problem in terms of fuel prices, now let me give you some funny figures here, not funny per se, but some figures of super petrol in Tanzania per litre. It goes for 152 shillings, diesel 144, and kerosene 143. That is in Kenyan shilling, all right? In Uganda, a litre of petrol retails at 165, diesel 141, and kerosene 138. While in Kenya we do 134 to a litre, 115 diesel, and 103 kerosene.
No wonder they were exporting some oil marketers.
But then again, Regina, do we have shortage of petrol in these 2 countries, Tanzania and Uganda? I love that. I love that. Do you have shortage?
Do you think they do? With this current report that has already been released, that now EPRA has already done an analysis that shows that, there have been daily loadings of petroleum. Yes. And oil farms, what we are referring to as OMs, have given priority to exports to neighboring countries.
Put so for 2 and 2 together.
For them, it's business as usual.
Yes.
And they fetch a higher price per litre.
You see,
so it's a time to reap.
We are a capitalistic state. Pesa mfukoni, it's your investment. You're not here to make losses. But at the end of the day, there's an element of mistrust between the OMs from where I sit and government. And I think, without saying so much, and because I'm not an expert, I think this fuel crisis is artificial. And it is somewhat a strike by the OMs to force the hand of government to release the funds, and even better yet, consider having an open market, like having the prices not regulated by EPRA.
Retaliation of sorts.
I tend to think so. I really tend to think so.
I think if the government and anyone in the value chain that has a say when it comes to oil and petroleum products, they all need to have a structured way of business. Because one thing that we have to understand is that adjustments have to be made as time goes.
Yeah, depending on the prevailing circumstances.
Depending on the prevailing circumstances, not focusing on maybe the time that particular batch arrived in the country. Regina did mention it's always 6 months in advance. So, kama maziwa saini 60 bob. Now, it's expected to be used in the next 6 months. And looking at the market and this economic space that will be in the next 6 months, adjusting to then, I think, is where hawapatani. They're not agreeing kama tutatumia ile price ya buying ama the current market rates. And at the end of the day, for hali wawili wakipigana,
Mimi na wewe ndo tunaumia. But I still think, in my own opinion, the state has a huge part to play, particularly when it comes to what is happening right now with this fuel crisis. I remember when this actually got the limelight, we had different stakeholders, particularly even the PS, was very categorical in saying that part of what had informed what you're experiencing in terms of fuel shortage was the panic buying, whereby we know fully well that that may not quite really be the case because fuel was actually there. And we are, again, just as Ray mentioned, we have that fuel levy fund, whereby every liter of petrol that you buy, there's money that goes to that fuel levy, which is supposed to stabilize fuel prices altogether. So if that were the case, and whereby Kenyans keep buying fuel all the time, and whereby that money keeps going to that levy, so what happened to that money in the first place that we're getting into this crisis? And then what is really happening that oil marketers are saying that the state owes them 20 billion and the state saying that they owe them 13 billion and they've only deposited 8.2 billion. So where is this confusion coming from? So these people are in business at the end of the day.
No, in as much as it's business at the end of the day, my question would be, should oil marketers have a say on the price of fuel that EPRA gets to review every mid-month? Should they be involved in determining this price based on how the prices at which they...
Actually, that's what they want.
They want to have
as opposed to being told,
exactly, an open market.
Mafuta, sawa, mutauza hivi.
Exactly, that's what they want.
But
they want to have a say.
Watauza hivi, they get a cut. Before we had this petroleum levy, they were doing up until 12 bob, 13 shillings per liter. But now, look at it this way. I tend to think that the oil marketers, in as much as they are conducting business and no one wants to make losses, I think we have taken greed and selfishness a notch higher. A report now indicates with EPRA that they have opted to take the commodity to neighboring countries and withhold supplies locally.
The local market.
Man, these are Kenyans. These are Kenyans who are taking advantage of the situation. KPC, as late as yesterday, revealed that stocks within their storage of up until 139.58 million liters are still held. You see, they hold the commodity for OMs for them to come pick and distribute. But OMs decided, you know what, we ain't going to do this now. We are building pressure. And as they're building pressure to have their terms adhered to, Mwananchi is suffering. And it got me thinking, if I was in a position, such a position, would I be going for what is in my pocket but for the greater good? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves on an individual capacity.
Because at the end of the day,
imagine now if we had this kind of situation and instead of just talking about petrol, would be also kerosene. Talking about the lack of diesel. Diesel runs our PSVs. Diesel runs our industries. Literally would be staring at chaos, and that these OMs are the same people who bring in diesel. So they're opting to continue distributing diesel and deliberately withholding super petrol. That is my simple understanding of the situation, and it boils down to greed. Because those that use super petrol cannot cause chaos? You see, a majority
to those that use diesel?
Mimi na wewe. You see, PSVs, it does not affect industry because if it affected...
It's a 70-30.
Yes, if it was affecting industry, it would be considered economic sabotage. But where we are sitting right now, if this continues past the 14th, it will be 2 weeks. And I think it will boil down to economic sabotage.
So now you can imagine the price of unga changed, the price of milk, which is actually out of stock.
Yes.
Most of the
For the past 2 weeks, there's a particular brand that I have not seen in almost 6 supermarkets.
Of what milk?
Gas. Yes, milk.
But you see, when it comes to milk, I tend to think milk, we also need to be a little bit alive to what is happening. This issue of drought and such, even with the cancellation of the deal that we were to export to Oman, this is out of our hands because of where we find ourselves in as far as matters of climate. Remember, even dairy production, a majority who are in this business are small-scale farmers. Yes, small-scale farmers are the ones that power a majority of industries and various sectors. So we are facing a drought. So far, we have now reports of this African armyworm within 11 counties. We have 32 counties that are staring at drought and starvation. You know, the rains are not yet here. Yet we are told that we need to look out for them. So we're in a catch-22 when it comes to matters
the crisis that the country is experiencing.
But I'm also going to throw the spanner into the works. Who said that we need to be relying on liquid milk?
Kenya is a drinking nation. I mean, tea.
Maziwa nyayo. Yes, akumi lazima.
Kenya is a drinking
powdered
nation.
milk is now the recommendation.
Powdered milk.
Oh yes, we could get alternatives.
Maziwa fresh has some, it slaps differently.
But honestly, even as we talk about the milk shortage, fuel shortage,
tutaanza kustore when it's in excess.
Do you guys realize that even as we talk about the shortage of most of these basic commodities, we still are grappling with trying to understand? When the CS was reading the budget, he talked about the 10% being imposed on some products that he didn't mention. So which products could this be? I mean, already as it is, the basic commodities, the prices are already high.
You know, Doreen, whenever any prices will ever be increased or any tax, whatever the case, it will always be on fast-moving goods.
Yes.
And so this boils down to the basics. Milk, bread,
we should brace ourselves for more
price ya pizza.
No.
Price pizza haitaongezeka.
That's meant for people like me who, you know, we
have come across the draft. I've come across the proposed draft finance bill, and that list of those that are going to be attracting 10% in excess duty. I do not see any basic commodity, so to speak, unless I go through it again. However, when it comes to the price of wheat, we expect that this is going to go up owing to the supply chain disruptions, given that we do not know how linked Kenya was to Ukraine. Until now, we had analysts and economists coming to tell us, you know, a majority of our fertilizer comes from Ukraine. Majority of our wheat comes from Ukraine.
Yes.
You're like, geez, we didn't know. We thought we were that far removed from what is happening in as far as East Europe is concerned. So that is something that we need to look out for. But let me bring back this conversation to the matters of the fuel crisis. While we are talking about the inavailability of this particular commodity at the fuel stations, you have seen even from pictures when we're doing a spot check, you're seeing people walking around with mitungis, with jerry cans and such. The question around fuel adulteration is alive and real. You're finding people actually hawking petrol. But how sure are you that because you're desperate, whatever it is that, you know, you're getting into your engine,
they're hawking petrol, how did they get it?
Is actually the right thing. So fuel adulteration, this is one of the reasons, actually this is where EPRA comes in to regulate this. But now things are getting out of hand because, you know, when there's increased demand against low supply, some unscrupulous people come into the value chain to take advantage of that situation.
Regina, I have a request.
Adulteration is real. So my friends, if it ain't from the pump.
All right. Allow me, ladies, allow me to go through the newspaper. Kidogo tu. Kidogo tu. We'll be back to that.
Fuel is causing crisis everywhere.
Yeah, okay. And I know this issue of fuel is also on other dailies. I know, Doreen, you have it, as well as Regina. So let me just get you on the front page of the Star. Mystery suicide, quote unquote, of Ruto Uhuru elite bodyguards. Bodies of 2 Reke squad members, regular cop found in Nairobi, Mombasa within 24 hours. Now, spent bullet found as police probe possible murder. All right, on the front page of the Star here, Ruto's presidential bid now supported by 12 parties, which was also covered on the Daily Nation there. Mystery suicide of Uhuru Ruto guards, taking the second page here. And this actually comes 2 years down the line. You remember the death of Kinei, the guy who someplace in Imara Daima, who was found again dead in his house. So police are handling this matter. Now, there's a man who was arrested in court for masquerading as a lawyer. Kenya nchi yetu. So a gentleman called Motari was unmasked after he was asked whether he had a practicing certificate. And he said he actually appeared before Chief Magistrate Wendy Mishemi, who unmasked him by the court after he was questioned whether he had a practicing certificate from the registrar of the High Court. And he said that he defended himself, saying that he had no practicing certificate and was only holding brief for another lawyer who was in record for the accused. So he was actually representing a Canadian, Abdullahi Tamba Koro, who has been charged with obtaining 76 million shillings from former Garsen MP Danson Mungatana by false pretense. Yes, this is Kenya.
Audacity too.
Audacity.
We joke too much in this country.
Yeah. You take yourself to the lion's den.
Yeah. And actually, when he was arrested, the magistrate actually ordered the court orderlies to arrest him immediately in the court precincts. So, yeah, it's against the code of practice and conduct of the lawyers. All right, life unbearable for many as petrol shortage bites. We've discussed that at length. Very quickly, revealed why there is major trouble in Azimio, Kenya, Azimio 1 Kenya. Kalonzo entry has complicated the matrix. Now a make or break moment for formation. This is what we'll be discussing in the next hour. But again, Raphael Tuju yesterday appeared after a meeting at Serena with the Secretary Generals of different parties and said that everything is under control at the formation. But then now, as that was happening, the DP was at Ngong Race Course having backup by 12 parties, and each entity will now retain its identity while supporting the alliance. That is so far what I have on the Star newspaper. Doreen, what do you have?
Let me start on that note on what is happening in Azimio la Umoja 1 Kenya. Actually, that is the main read on the PD this morning. That's what you're waking up to with the tag running mate or nothing. Kalonzo now demands. And the question is, there are cracks in this coalition. The running mate question brewing dilemma in that particular coalition. And then just going by what Dan Manzo, that is the MP Makueni, also forms part of the legal advisors of Kalonzo Musyoka, and what he said is that he has actually also confirmed that they are taking nothing short of the running mates in that particular coalition, and also they have already submitted to the Register of Political Parties a letter protesting the registration of the coalition, that is the Azimio la Umoja 1 Kenya coalition, saying that what they signed on April 1st, that three-legged stool which is comprising of ODM, Jubilee and OKA, is not what was presented on April 9th to the Register of Political Parties. And in between April 1st and April 9th is when there was that caucus which was formed, the Mwanzo Mpya, whereby those other parties or the smaller parties were saying that they felt like they were being sidelined in some of the decisions that this coalition was making. And also you can remember that the Machakos governor Alfred Mutua had threatened of looking for alternative options, and also citing that the DP had called him, and particularly he was looking into joining that party up until Raila Odinga came to call the ongoing issues that were happening there. So they're saying that what was presented to the registrar is different from what they signed. He had also talked about not having the three-legged as now having the four-legged stool, and one kept thinking, so all these 25 parties, what about if we just have the 25
five-legged stool since each party wants to have a stake in the coalition. So that is why they presented this letter to the Register of Political Parties. And again, remember that they have up until May 9th to actually present the document. But just as Victor has mentioned there, the Secretariat Executive Director, that is Raphael Tuju, came out to also say that they're discussing all these issues in-house, and once they agree, they will issue an appropriate statement. But even as we talk about this running mate question and Wiper also wanting to be considered on this issue, even the Jubilee party is coming out strongly to say that when it comes to the running mate question, it needs to be a precedent for the Mount Kenya. We're having also other parties saying that this needs to be an area of consideration. So really, with all these parties that are in the Azimio coalition, which way will they go when it comes to the running mate, choosing that running mate? And again, also remember that there are various factors to be considered, key among them being the number of votes that you're bringing to the table when it comes to that running mate question. So just as this secretariat there mentioned, we're trying to see how they will quell all these issues that are happening in that particular coalition. So away from that, the third way party leader, the Third Way Alliance party leader, that is Ekuru Aukot, has also moved to the High Court to bar Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, as well as Musalia Mudavadi, saying that the High Court needs to disqualify them from the August 9th general elections, citing that they are already enjoying retirement benefits, and the court should issue an interpretation to the effect that they are not fit to vie for these positions, given the fact that they are already enjoying retirement benefits, and so with that, then they're not fit to run for any position. And also, lastly, we have again, Ngatia in the eye of a storm of a degree. This is one of the aspirants eyeing the gubernatorial seat in Nairobi. That is Richard Ngatia via the Jubilee party ticket, and just as submitted by a Kenyan, that is George Mwanzia. He is saying that this particular aspirant does not have the proper qualifications, and so by that he is not fit to vie for this position. So what does this mean for Richard Ngatia, who's eyeing Nairobi's top job? Regina.
Good question. And we're not going to delve into matters politics, neither are we going to talk about fuel. I think there's only so much you can talk about that. Let me just give you an overview of what has been making headlines in other circles, and I'd want to take you to the corridors of justice, where 303 million is that is a total amount that Peter Kilu Makau has been ordered to surrender to the state, being illegal proceeds of money laundering. Now, according to Justice Esther Minor, the amount he acquired, that is Peter Kilu, was illegal proceeds of money laundering, where his two companies, Kimako Connections Limited and Pescon Kenya, were used as vehicles to siphon the funds by betting firm Mozart Kenya Limited. Now, the judges ruled that the monies were 303 million shillings to be surrendered to the state. Now, the decision makes it a major win for the state in the crackdown of betting. That is just from the corridors of justice. And also just a little bit from politics. We saw there now Kotu has thrown its weight behind Raila and says that workers are safe with him. That is Atuoli there, who's been quoted in this particular daily, talking about why Kotu is firmly behind Raila Odinga's quest for the top seat in the country. Then, in as far as teachers are concerned, demands are still on, with teachers making demands on delayed promotions. Quoted here is the chairperson of KATI there, that's the Kenya Association of Technical Training Institutions, who says, "We have been waiting for promotions and recognition for so long. Some of our members have left service after 4 years without getting promotions." And this is talking about, this comes at a time when ministry officials have been assuring tutors that their grievances are being addressed. But they're saying it is taking too long for them. Then also, quite something that you have observed, let's take you to the banking sector. Have you ever noticed that you do not have conveniences or washrooms within a banking hall? Have you ever noticed that?
Good observation.
Mbona unaongea ukweli?
Why?
Show me a bank, unless you're doing VIP service, where you have coffee and such, but
the washrooms are left for the staff.
Yes, washrooms are only entitled for the staff. That's just a by the way. But now let me take you to the roads. Is that, a court directed the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works to ensure that public toilets were constructed along all highways. Those who use the Western Road, Webuye, Busia, Kisumu, Navaholo,
Victor, mikono zote mbili.
I'm addressing two persons.
Why are you targeting us?
Mikono zote mbili.
Now, the only county that has adhered to this, this case actually started in 2020, but it has been a ping pong between the Ministry of Housing vis-a-vis the Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure. We also have issues of, environment and such. But it has been a ping pong, between these two ministries. This is a case that was handled in 2020, and this came about after a case was reported 5 years ago. Travelers in a Western Kenyan-bound bus were shocked after one of them was attacked by a snake as she answered the call of nature in a bush in Londiani on the Nakuru-Eldoret highway. Fortunately, the woman survived. It was a non-venomous snake. And this set the precedence for this particular case that has been dragging on and on. But it is something that needs to be considered. You can imagine being on the road up to 4, 6, actually not 4 hours. We're
9
talking
hours.
about 6, 7 hours. And even pulling over, the security issue and such. It's something that needs to be done. That was on a very lighter note, but that is something that
And the only stopover is Nakuru or Narok. Victor?
Yes?
The only stopover is...
Mine is so simple. We have the announcers before you start the journey. Tunatoka at 9:30, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The next stop is
Nakuru or Narok,
you get,
depending on whether
or, yes.
Eastern or Nyanza.
So prepare yourself.
And after Nakuru,
but the problem, Regina,
after Nakuru ni mpaka ushago.
Ujipange.
Mpaka penye unaenda.
Yeah.
After Narok ni mpaka penye unaenda.
Regina, that's not the problem, because an announcement will be made at the bus stop, either huko chini, OTC, or whichever stage. But the problem is, kuna mtu atakula njugu hapa kwa gari.
Mahindi.
Yogurt.
Akona yogurt hapo. Akona some these soft drinks,
Atanunua kuku hapo Nakuru, aeke kwa
alafu
gari.
akimaliza nachukua kilolipop ameweka hapo. What did you expect? Na maji.
Na watoto kwanza.
Na soda.
And avocado probably akona hapo kwa bag.
Oh God, if there is one more, I am actually appreciating that in as far as, jokes were concerned, people were saying, umekawia kwani umeenda Meru. I'm like, tuko tu sawa. We good. We fine. We do at least 2 hours, maximum 3.
Hey, some places
now you see, Regina,
6,
with all
7
these
hours.
factors constant, that is why people going to Western or Nyanza, their trips, you just don't wake up and decide to go.
Plan.
These are trips you plan. If you're actually going to go there in December, you start as early as now.
Yes.
But you also still get the time to squeeze in a sofa set kwa carrier bus. Man, you guys are so dramatic.
That's
traditions zingine.
If you don't travel without sofa set, then you'll be asked.
Na mitungi za yellow.
That's a norm.
And you see, even after you're traveling down for the holidays, na mitungi na sofa set, after the holiday, the mtungi na sofa set zinarudi Nairobi.
Come back.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Leave us alone.
It's the culture, Regina. It's the culture.
I mean, you have to be comfortable, both home and away.
Oh, yes.
How about to invest in mitungis and sofa sets for mashinani? Yeah?
Naona mitungi ka 50 za yellow.
Yes.
Zimefungiliwa hapo nyuma.
Alafu kirudi nyumbani tafadhali kuna mitungi na sofa set inakungoja Nairobi.
One thing umesahau ni baiskeli. Utapata baiskeli hanging behind the emergency door.
Uko kwa
safari.
It's interesting.
Yes.
Anyway, let me bring you to the Daily Nation. There's a story here concerning HIV treatment. So Kenya begins a test of injectable drug for HIV, and this is just 3 months after the UK and the States approved an injectable HIV treatment, and Kenya administered the first injection on the first patient on the 31st of March. Of course, identity withheld. This was done at the Aga Khan University Hospital. So this drug is a combination of the traditional medicine that has always been used in the treatment of HIV, only that you will not have to be taking the daily drugs, the ARTs, every single day. This particular drug will be injected on a 2-month basis for the treatment of HIV, but it's specific to certain adults because it's yet to be officially rolled out as an official form of treatment. They are still continuing with studies to just ensure that it will be a safe option, because there's so many HIV patients who always, have a hard time when it comes to taking the drugs every single day. Drug overload is one of the biggest challenges that we have been seeing in the treatment of HIV. So looking at what the ministry had to say in regards to the number of people living with HIV that are on the ART treatment, termed as the life-saving treatment, the number is estimated to be 1.2 million by the close of 2021. So this is definitely good news for patients that are on the treatment for HIV. We are yet to see how this particular new treatment progresses, but that will be given these updates by the ministry as and when that will be possible. Now, moving on to some international news, and very briefly, let me read for you this header. Kenya, quote unquote, snubs Ukraine embassy's request to address parliament. Okay? So Kenya has declined a request from Ukraine to address parliament as Nairobi officials feared being dragged into the conflict with the potential to hurt its bilateral ties with the two capitals of these two countries, Moscow and Kyiv. So looking at what a senior ministry official had to say, and according to this daily, they said that there was no need to allow the speech in the floor of the parliament, adding that they should make use of the available diplomatic channels and not go for particular countries per se, and especially so giving an audience at parliament.
Can I bring you up to speed with what is happening in business before, Victor, you take it away?
Sure. Yes.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta in October last year announced that, you will not be listed on CRB. You had defaulted on a loan during what they referred to as a COVID period. Also, you will also not, be listed in as far as HELB is concerned. However, you will now be taken to court for defaulting on a HELB loan. Habari ndio hiyo, nirudie. You will now be taken to court for defaulting on the HELB loan. So the Higher Education Loans Board, HELB, has started taking defaulters to court to recover some of the 10.5 billion shillings that beneficiaries have not paid for over 10 years. So 15.5 billion shillings is a budgetary allocation to HELB for the next financial year. 5,000 is a penalty that HELB defaulters pay every month. 75,000 students who require loans amounting over 3.2 billion shillings. And it is looking at defaulting or defaulters who owe them a cool 10.5 billion shillings. I want to quote the Chief Executive Officer of the Higher Loans Board, Higher Education and Loans Board, that is HELB. And this is quite something. On KRA, you can see them. On KRA, you can see they are paying taxes. On NTSA, you can see they are buying their Subarus or Subrus, so to speak. This is how we are chasing one another. Are you seeing the humor from that CEO? On KRA, guys are paying taxes, and on NTSA, you can see they're buying their Subarus. This is how we are chasing one another.
So does it mean that on HELB is where they're drawing the line?
Yes, you
choosing
see,
not
they are
to pay.
opting to pay their taxes and buy vehicles, but they're not. Basically, he's pointing to a lack of willingness, not being able. It's not an issue of not being able, or rather lacking capacity to pay up these loans. It's pointing at the lack of willingness for these persons to actually pay.
Wamenunua Subaru ndo wakimbizwa.
Hapo ndio you know,
there lies the joke.
Tupelekwa mbio kama
Wakimbizane kwa barabara.
baskeli ya kuibu. All right.
Priority ni Subaru na KRA kwanza.
I remembered someone telling me that once they were studying and they had applied for a HELB loan, not because that
they needed it,
but because ilikuwa inakuja kama boost.
Why do people do that?
Ilikuwa inakuja kama boost. It used to help them live that life in university. I can see Victor nodding. I don't know if you're one of those culprits. I have Victor to you.
Regina. Okay, as we talk about money, there are two stories here. So millions wasted in Envoy's rent scandal. I'll give you residents of Kenya's ambassador to New York vacant for 10 years as taxpayer fork out millions. So the official residence has not been occupied for 10 years, but we still pay rent. This is what happens. The house gathers cobwebs. The ambassador lives on a leased property for which taxpayers actually are paying an annual rent of 23 million shillings, about 2 million bob per month. Okay. In addition, the mission in New York incurs annual maintenance expense of 120,000 and an annual utility cost of 868,000 shillings on the unoccupied property. That is according to the Auditor General, Nancy Gadongo, who actually queried the prevailing circumstances, putting the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a spot over the mismanagement of government properties abroad. 10 years. Alafu ameenda merent how? And then, Moi grandson seeks 30 million shillings to clear bills. Gentleman called Collins Toroitich says that he needs 30 million to foot his bills. Doreen, how much do you need to foot your bills? Lens.
Let me not disclose.
Lens. Because anasema that Kibet told court that his grandfather was worth over 300 billion Kenya shillings. So mi number to 32.
32?
32.
Kenya shillings ama USD ama pounds?
Kenyan bob. So all factors remaining constant, 270 billion shillings still remaining somewhere. 32 mnipe. Is it 30 billion? 30 minus 30 million? It's a lot of money, you guys. How much do you want?
Mimi nimeachia Mungu anipea atanipea. Doreen,
all right, so let's come to tukimaliza. I want to just run you through what is happening on the police force. You can remember that Monday we had this story on particularly the bribery and recruitment process, especially for job seekers seeking jobs in the police force. And now this report just shows how graft is rampant in hiring of police, whereby it indicates that widespread bribery, nepotism, tribalism, and unfair distribution of vacancies in police recruitment process have been identified as some of the factors affecting performance in the police service. And also this study was done by the National Crime Research Center, has also identified, of course, low salaries, benefits, and benefit packages, inadequate resources, unfair promotion, and work frustrations as some of the reasons behind lack of motivation among officers. So basically just saying, when you see the police officers sometimes behaving the way they do, sometimes acting and feeling and being unmotivated, these are just some of the reasons and factors that result to that. And also the challenges start from the recruitment stage, where the report indicates that 40% of the respondents said the selection and recruitment of police officers in Kenya is not transparent. Like I said, on Monday we had this report where it showed that about a good number of job seekers ended up losing about 500,000. This is this different job seekers ended up losing that amount because they had to bribe, some of the police officers just to get into this recruitment. And actually, they ended up even not getting to that process. And even for those that are already inside the training are saying that they still had to bribe for them to be there. And some of them were not so open to disclose the amount because they were saying that in the event they end up doing that, then they might be removed from that training. So that is just what it shows there. And also the NCRC, the body that conducted this research, said those who highlighted lack of fairness during recruitment narrowed it down to bribery being at 80.6%, so taking the bigger chunk of the issues being witnessed in the police force. Nepotism at 43%, tribalism at 20.5%, and biased distribution of vacancies at 19%. So these are just some of the issues ailing the police service, and clearly bribery taking the bigger chunk of it.
Traffic Marshal A1, before you wind it up for us, we are not going to forget that Real walifanyile kitu. Woohoo! Yes, Benzema there and Luka Modric there, quashing the dreams of Chelsea there. But here, that have helped Real Madrid survive that particular game. So much more is already available on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Watu wa Chelsea wataendelea kusema kwamba ni wivu ya watu wa Arsenal na Manchester United, but nonetheless Benzema aliwafanyia hile kitu. Sawa? Let's move on. We're going to be looking at the World Cup tour that is going to be happening in Nairobi from the 26th to the 27th. It's a wrap in as far as news is concerned. I'm Regina Manyara.
From the news and dailies to a quick look on how our roads are looking like, a quick look on Limuru Road, as well as the Muthaiga Square, one of those busy sections, particularly knowing fully well that still there's a lot happening on Thika Superhighway. This is as it pertains to that BRT taking shape there. But how about we just begin from Limuru Road there, just before you get to the Muthaiga roundabout. This is how it is looking like, not really that bad. As you head over to the city center on both lanes of this particular stretch, moving at a very swift pace right now. But just before you actually get to the roundabout, on that particular stretch there, that's just where traffic begins to slightly build up. But just before the roundabout, moving at a very swift pace, in fact on both sections, or better still on both lanes of this road. So clearly, if you're leaving areas of Muthaiga, perhaps also Raka, coming to the city center using this stretch, this is a good time for you. If you are on the road, still a very good time for you, because like I mentioned, and also like what we are seeing here, nothing is changing there. Green all through, a clear indicator of no traffic at all, moving at a very swift pace on both lanes of that stretch. But just after the roundabout, as you get over to the Muthaiga roundabout there on sections, actually before you get the roundabout on that stretch there, that is, like I mentioned, that's just you begin to see a bit of traffic. And look at that. Yes, there's there, but not really that much of heavy kind of traffic. In fact, it's just quite a manageable kind of traffic. And again, it looks like it's opening up a bit. That's why you're seeing the difference in the colors there, a bit of orange and green, which is an indicator of traffic beginning to slightly build up, but altogether manageable kind of traffic. And again, just before you get to the roundabout, still opening up. So the green color also indicating moving at a very swift pace there. Away from that section, or away from the Limuru Road, as you head over to areas around Muthaiga there, still heavy kind of traffic. Obviously, this is one of those busy areas, busy roundabout. This is how it is looking like this morning. Just basically what you'd really be expecting to see. That is what we are seeing there. In fact, as you head over to the city center on that stretch, on two lanes, this is the inner lane as well as the outer lane, as you head over to the city center, unbearable. Moving at a very slow pace on some sections, and not moving at all, just as to stand still as you near the Shell petrol station there. Still the same is being witnessed, but also This has been the situation on most areas around the petrol station, obviously, just because of the fuel shortage. So clearly this could also be that reason that we are seeing the heavy kind of traffic there around the Shell petrol station near Muthaiga Square or the Muthaiga roundabout. Away from that section, as you head over to the city center, look at that moving at a very swift pace that continues up until the Karioko roundabout there, all the way to areas of Muranga Road as you head over to the city center. So clearly, if you're also living areas of Thika Super Highway, where you'll have to make do with that heavy kind of traffic is around the Muthaiga Square and also around the Thika Outer Ring overpass. Look at that stretch there. Actually, that just slightly around that area is just where you'll have to make do with that traffic. But in between the Outer Ring overpass and the Muthaiga Square, this is how it is looking like this morning, moving at a very swift pace. Beauty is that this is actually on both lanes of that stretch. So as I mentioned, where you really have to make do with that heavy kind of traffic is actually particularly around the Muthaiga roundabout. Past that area rather, also as you head over to city center, around areas of Ngara, Pangani, coming through Muranga Road, Desai Road as well, moving at a very, very swift pace. In fact, no traffic at all. It's quite interesting because this is one of those roads where oftentimes, particularly in this time of the morning, what you would really see or, be expecting to see is that heavy kind of traffic, but that looks not to be the case this morning. Again, where you'll just have to also make do with that heavy kind of traffic is around the Globe roundabout there, but largely in most parts along Thika Super Highway as well as the sections around Muthaiga and also Limuru Road, not looking bad at all. So part of also why we're looking at that particular stretch is simply because of the bus rapid transit system. We're just trying to track how all this is perhaps affecting or impacting traffic, and that's what you're seeing at exactly 18 minutes past 8 a.m.
It is a voice that has attracted the attention of many, not only from the Lake region, but the world at large. Apostle Dalan Ruki's sense of fashion and personality has remained a puzzle to many. Some refer to the music icon as he and some she. We paid a visit to Dalan Ruki's home in Miranga, Homa Bay County, to unravel the puzzle.
I was born an intersex. That made me to change my mind, to think and to know that I am not only a boy, but I'm also a girl. And I can also have my menses just like women. So that changed my mind.
In simple terms, an intersex person is an individual born with a combination of both male and female biological traits. Dr. Ken Muma gives us a medical perspective.
When we are all in the uterus, at some point in time, our organs are somewhere in between, okay? And then once the genes start kicking in, is how it commits to one side or the other. In ovotesticular DSD, you basically have some variation of both organs.
My mother explained to me everything, how she gave birth to me, and why she decided to identify me as a male, and why she was trying to hide it to other people, so that people may not know that I was born an intersex. She told me that she was just afraid of me being killed because children like that during that time were supposed to be killed.
I decided my child to be a boy because he passed urine through the male organ.
The mother tried all means to make Dalan look like a boy, a decision whose consequences Dalan has lived with.
What I wanted from the doctors was only to get me the medicine to stop my menses and to get medicines which can make me look like a man, not a woman.
Puberty came with a fair share of challenges.
I was lacking a group to join. When I go to girls, I'm chased to go to boys. When I go to boys, go to girls.
Discrimination from his own family added more salt to injury.
Even though my elder brothers from my stepmothers were very much harsh to me and treated me very harsh. They wanted me just to be alone. Some people would want even to undress you the way I used to be treated when I was still young. People wanted to know all the time. So when I go to school, people want to see, are you a man? Are you a boy? Yes, I am a boy. No, we want to confirm. They remove my clothes. After seeing some people raped me, I was raped with men when I was still young. I am near, I will give thee.
When enough was enough for the founder of the Bride of the Lamb Ministries,
that the world cannot give,
the apostle decided to publicly identify as an intersex.
I was the first person, I think, here in Kenya.
A declaration that prompted many intersex persons ostracized by the community to seek solace and shelter at the St. Dalan Rookies Mission. The apostle finds comfort in prayer.
You may fight all my battles.
Solace in singing. And more joy in dancing. Dalan uses the pulpit to spread the gospel.
Glory be to the King of Glory!
And create awareness about the intersex condition.
God is a God of love. And He has brought us together to serve one another in love.
With a sense of fashion that has aroused curiosity among the public, Dalan gives a shot.
That's why I am dressing up like this, to create awareness so that people may know.
Dalan is a fashion designer who tailors and designs his on-stage costumes that depicts the intersex gender.
Typically
trouser, kawaida. Then this is the skirt.
Meaning part of your costume is
shows
to show the intersex.
Yes.
He embraces diverse cultures through his music. He takes advantage of his hormonal changes to bring creativity to his music, sometimes high pitch. And sometimes low pitch. Dalan is married to Prescan Fau. The couple has been together for 26 years and they have a 21-year-old biological son.
I'm a father to Abid and Rasha. So if somebody has called me father, it's good.
In a rare case of intersex procreation, Dalan confesses to be a biological mother.
This is why to me, I'm seeing it very nice to be a mother. I am a mother to Marvel.
Probably for this gentleman or woman, that the organ the female organs were the ones which were predominantly more functional than the male organs. For example, that's why you describe the presence of menstruation. You describe the presence of the ability to be impregnated.
Research shows that there are 46 variations of intersex condition. According to Dr. Muma, intersex persons can choose their preferred gender.
You may have to do surgery for one reason or another, but we are usually very cautious and offer that as a last resort. And we usually like to make that decision in consultation, not only with the parents, but with the person with that condition.
Nominated Senator Isaac Mwaura sponsored a bill in Parliament in 2019 to safeguard the rights and freedoms of the intersex persons.
My bill now in the Senate, Registration of Persons Bill, Amendment Bill, seeks now to recognize that there is a third sex marker, which is intersex, and also to have people that have that marker in the ID. And it's in the second reading of the Senate. We pray and believe that before we do sine die, possibly in May, we shall have already conversed about it. I'll be pushing for it and see where we are in the order paper so that it can advance.
What about the clustering of lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer and intersex individuals under a single umbrella body of LGBTQI?
This is very, very important, Sheila Yogo. There has been all this association with the LGBTQ community, which is not what we are advocating for ourselves, because we are not talking about sexual orientation. We are talking about the sex, the way you are born, whether you're male, female, or intersex.
To those who discriminate intersex persons, the apostle has a message. According to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, intersex minors are not spared either.
The parents are really struggling with identifying who they are. They will keep away from hospitals. So at the point when these children are born, we have kids who are likely to miss out on vaccination.
A spot check by KBC revealed low levels of awareness about intersex condition have contributed to discrimination against the individuals.
Si tuko over 33 million.
Yes.
Mbona Mungu anachagua wewe tu akuweke intersex?
Sasa hiyo ndio inafaa tuwaelimishe, kwa sababu watu hawajaelimishwa kuhusu watu wanaitwa intersex. Hawajapewa education.
Unaweza jiridhisha ukiwa wana.
Hawezi serve two masters.
Mimi siwaelewi, hata tukisikia tunasikia tu kama ni movie.
According to the 2019 National Population and Housing Census, 1,524 intersex persons were recorded in the country, while the Kenya National Human Rights Commission estimates the number of intersex persons to be 1.4 million.
The huge gap is because people cannot come. Can you imagine, even when we have the Intersex Day, people still find it hard to share their stories. And the level of self-confidence is very low amongst intersex people.
For any violations of their rights and legal help, intersex persons can contact the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. For psychosocial support, intersex persons can access Intersex Persons Society of Kenya and Jinsi Yangu organization. At the Kijabe Mission Hospital that has support groups for the intersex, and the Dalan Ruki Mission through mobile number 0714 444 660 that offers a home for intersex persons ostracized by the community.
drafted the contract. You just need to sign it. Why? I'm an excellent beautician. Why is no one willing to hire me? The worst thing is, some of them are my old friends.
I want to hire her. I'll let her work in Venus again, doing the lowest job so I can insult her.
Give us a minute. I have something to say to Miss Go.
Dad.
You leave too.
Oh.
Watu wana elimu lakini pia hawafanyii kazi elimu yao. Wanafanya kazi kwenye maslahi ambayo Allah alikataa. Wanafanya kazi kwa maslahi, hawafanyi kazi kwa kufikisha tauhidi kwa haki ya kuifikisha.
Biiznillah ta'ala, naomba tuwe wenye kupata hidayah na kufuata uongofu wa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ila yaumil qiyama ili tuweze kunufaika.
Malikin nas, ilahin nas, من شر الوسواس الخناس.
فدقت قلبي نداك يا رب ما لي سواك، في ضعفي أترجاك ربنا يا هدينا.
Being Wednesday, the 12th day of 13th day, actually 12th. Went back a day. All right, so let's take a look at what's happening in the political scene. Yesterday, Rafael Tuju, who is now the executive director under the Azimio One Kenya Alliance, had a meeting at Serena Hotel in Nairobi with the different secretary generals of different parties in a bid to bring down some of the simmering tension in the party. And he had a message from the president and ODM boss Raila Odinga. And now today I want us to discuss that as well, just to understand what is the whole scenario, what is the whole issue under the Azimio la Umoja party, as alliance, so to speak. And now joining me in studio, I have got gentleman that is Anthony Ogato, who is a member of parliament aspirant in actually in Kitutu Masaba, and Tabitha Ogutu, who is our analyst live from Siaya County. There you have them. Lady and gentlemen, good morning. Starting with you. Ladies first. Tabitha, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great. I'm doing great. Apparently, your network is stuttering, but nonetheless, I got you. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. And Anthony Mbuyore.
Mbiyamono, good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you. How is Kitutu Masaba?
Kitutu Masaba is fine and it looks good. The weather is good today. It didn't rain. It rained last night actually.
Yes.
And we have a lot of matokes around here. Well, it's good.
We have a gentleman from that region who says that Anto should do something. You talked about matoke. And cities with matoke, avocados, saga, sugarcane. It's a blessed land. Okay, let's get straight to this. Anthony, first of all, you are an aspirant in that particular region. Please give me an overview of how the situation is in Kitutu Masaba constituency.
Well, Kitutu Masaba is good, and our people, we are about almost 11, 12 aspirants, and from different parties. But myself, I'm a Jubilee aspirant. We are 2 in this ticket, and we are battering it together. And we hope by 21st we will know out of the 2 who is gonna be the flag bearer.
Yes.
Quite frankly, our people in Kitutu Masaba are really eager for the change because they feel that the incumbent has not delivered as they expected, and the people expect their leader to be among them or one of them, or not get lost until the election period, which has really happened. So, we are traversing the constituency, and we are talking to our people, and our people are really, really very receptive.
Yes. One interesting bit is that Jubilee is fielding a candidate, and in that particular region, which is part of the larger Nyanza province, did not produce any candidate under ODM. How are you going to crack the whip, to crack that hard nut for you to win that election under Jubilee ticket?
Quite frankly, in Nyamira County, Kitutu Masaba is the only constituency that in 2017 produced a Jubilee candidate. The incumbent was a Jubilee candidate, and he already decamped to UDA, and our people are not satisfied with the kind of services they have received from the same. So ODM, Kitutu Masaba is not a personality, or is not a party constituency candidate. They don't look at the party, they look at the person. So and they also look at the manifesto that the candidates put forward. So I hope, as of now, I am sure I'm the best with the kind of manifesto I put forward, and with my kind of background, I think I'm the best candidate placed.
Absolutely, and we wish you all the best now that you have got the nominations coming up on 21st of this month, if I get it right.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so there seemed to be a storm in the party. Rafael Tuju yesterday moved to quell such kind of assertions that there is some kind of unease in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya alliance. And yesterday he said that everything is under control. In your own formed opinion, what is happening?
Quite frankly, you can imagine, Azimio la Umoja with those kind of multiple parties in it.
The three to be precise.
Yes, you can just liken it to a polygamous family with one father. And you could easily imagine how much, especially a polygamous family can be led by one father. And now, I don't see any problem with how things are being done, but the whole issue is about the whose interests have to be served first before the other, or how things have to be done. But I truly believe that the party will has ways to overdo all this. But Jubilee in Azimio, Jubilee has no presidential candidate, but ODM has the presidential candidate. So all these other parties are supporting the presidency, but all other parties have their own candidates. Now, every party.
Okay, Anthony, I'll get back.
In the
all right, Anthony, just to stabilize your network, we'll get back to you shortly. But let me bring in Tabitha Ogutu from here. Tabitha, once again, good morning. Raphael Tuju yesterday moved to say that, everything is under control under the coalition. And as we can easily predict, the entrance of Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has completely changed the metrics. What do you think about that, Tabitha?
Yes, Victor, most definitely. We have seen a bit of unrest in Azimio coalition because of the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka's factor. He appears to not be satisfied or not to, really want, he says that the agreements have been changed, not what they had agreed on the day they were signing the coalition agreement. Yes. And he's even saying that they're not supposed to register yet Azimio as a coalition or as a party because he feels there's some undone business. And of course, as you have seen, the likes of Honorable Alfred Mutua, this does not sit down well with them. They feel that Kalonzo is playing a card that is time wasting. And he should have known already what he really had wanted before he had signed that coalition agreement ahead of their NDC. And we have seen him participating even in other political rally campaigns. Now, the big question is, what is it about Azimio right now that he's feeling uneasy about? And is the same person who was in agreement the other time about joining hands and working together with the like-minded individuals. And he said that Raila Amolo Odinga is his preferred presidential candidate. So what is the change over time? What is the factor in here? Maybe he never knew his stake earlier on, but I think this time that he's coming out to want to disrupt things and time is moving. I think this is so of Kalonzo. This is the Kalonzo we know. Kalonzo is never definite. He's neither here nor there. And so we would expect side things, but not to the extremes of wanting to disrupt the proceedings, because he is appearing to be somebody who is individual centered. It's about him. If it's not me, then I'm not here. But then as it stands, he needs to literally, say what he wants, because we need to see the party or the coalition as Azimio moving forward. With the Tuju factor yesterday, I mean, like what Mheshimiwa has just said, it's like a polygamous marriage. This is so polygamous. With you have your one husband with so many wives. We can attribute it to that analogy. And so everyone wants something. Everyone is seeking for attention. We have to, at the end of the day, remember, Victor, as much as all these parties are not wanting, they're not pitching for their presidential candidates from the individual parties. They also have to sustain themselves as parties. They need members of parliament, they need governors, they need senators. They also have to negotiate for something for them. So I think it's valid that we have these conversations, but it should not be at the point of threatening to go like what we are seeing with Kalonzo, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. I think they should just have a roundtable discussion, and I think I will applaud that, what is happening, to bringing them together. And we want to see what is it really that as parties or as the parties forming the coalition of Azimio, what they have as opinions, what they think has not been done right, because we cannot stand to have this kind of confusion a few months to the election. Already it's not something we want to see, so we could not afford to have it nearing the election. So let them square it right now. Even as they do nominations, I understand that in my county today we have the nominations for different positions. I think that with what we saw in Busia the other day, we have been having people saying that ODM is giving people direct tickets. They even claim that Honorable Florence Mutua was given direct ticket. But we saw that yesterday, actually, those were just claims to try and make the party to appear undemocratic. The party stand its ground. The nominations were fair. The best candidate won. And I think that is what we need to see all over the country. And I like the spirit of, if you're defeated, or it's not a defeat at all, it's just that in a competition, there has to be a winner and a loser. So if you lose it to your competitor, then you just, peacefully congratulate them and join hands to work for the party to avoid this kind.
I'll come to that briefly so that you can give us, be our reporter from here, give us more details on what you should expect on the nominations to be held today. But then back to the main story here. Yesterday when Raphael Tuju met the party secretary generals, he had a message from the president, and the message was very clear. He called for an end to the public back and forth and asked them to instead use internal mechanisms to resolve differences. That was a message from the president. Well, it's a very simple message, but weighty, so to speak.
Yes, Victor. It's a very clear to the point message. I will assume already that these parties will know that. But then sometimes that is why we need to have leadership from the top. And I'm glad that the president, as the chairperson of the Azimio movement or Azimio coalition, is leading and giving direction and telling them, okay, we must have a few issues here and there, but the resolution mechanism is not for us to go to the public and start fighting and start, when we claim that we are one people, then it's just prudent enough that as we have conversation and even we have some issues here and there, even if it's nomination issues, even if it's post-allocation issues, any other issues that may come in, and even if they think that they did not bring some of their ideas or whatever they thought that could be included in the coalition, and they've just thought about this right now, going live on mainstream media and talking about it is not the solution at the end of the day, because they will have to sit down and discuss some of those things. So I feel that the president has given the best of the directions that I think should be emulated even with other coalition or even other parties. At this time and point, it's important that they have a sit down and channel. It's called channeling your ideas or your thoughts in a very civilized and a decorum way. So I think that is the direction the president is giving, because we do not want the issues to come out like we are being disunited. Is the thing that I even saw the other day. Yesterday, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi was saying, unaona maneno ambayo inafanyika katika ile Azimio coalition, they don't have peace, they're not united, ni chama ya watu wahongo. You see, when it appears that like this is a coalition of liars, it's the public perception, very important in politics, and it's being created because of a factor that some of the parties do not know how to channel their conversations or their ideas or opinions or whatsoever. So I think it's the right way to go, as the president had put it through Honorable Raphael Tuju.
Okay, Anthony, let me get your point, and you can weigh in on this subject. The president, as it is right now, we can say that there is a storm in the party, and the president is not quite amused about it. The entrance of Kalonzo Musyoka into the coalition actually has completely made it even harder for them to move on in terms of fast-tracking all the processes of coalition building, consensus, and agreement. What do you think is going to be the outcome at the end of the day?
I think the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka is just only trying to get to be relevant or to keep himself on the mainstream media. That is one of the main players in this game in Azimio. But quite frankly, Kalonzo Musyoka is being unrealistic with the kind of support he gets from the Ukambani area, because he's not the only one. We have Charity Ngiru, we have Mutua, we have Kivuta Kibwana. So he is not the only, and that the area is is completely divided. It doesn't have the all Ukambani. And if you move to other regions of the country, Kalonzo Musyoka is it does not make sense in most regions, or does not have the support it needs. It is only in basically to seek self-interest, where he has to try to use the opportunity to negotiate, probably for the DP position. When you look at how he's maneuvering or what he's trying to do, I don't think he's making a lot of sense. I wish he was not even a factor, but now here we are. The only thing that can be done in Azimio is just to go with the like-minded supporters or people who can support the coalition to go forward. I personally, I do not prefer him. That's my opinion.
All right,
Yes.
Anthony, on Monday, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka wrote a letter, and in that letter, it was actually a protest letter. In part of that letter, he said that that there are some claims over alterations of the agreement deposited with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. One of the allegations is that the party raised concerns over the expansion of the coalition's party's caucuses from 3 to 4, increment of the coalition council members from 7 to 11, and the selection of the presidential candidate's running mate. These are some of the demands from some of the concerns from the Wiper Party to the Registrar of Political Parties. Are they realistic?
Yeah, quite frankly, the Kalonzo Musyoka is trying to wreck Azimio from within. And he is a professional lawyer, and he's very smart, and I'm sure even the Wiper lawyers saw the document before it was deposited. That's very unrealistic that they missed that. And if they missed, that's inept on their part. Actually, it's a joke. It's a joke that those kind of letters he has to write from behind. And you see, it's like he's trying to wash the dirty linen in the public. Now, if there is a problem, he has the inside mechanism of even picking up a phone and calling the principals and talking to them directly. But why should he just make it public unless he wants some public sympathy?
All right. I don't know what to make of that, Tabitha. Some of the demands by the Wiper leader. And of course, when the president sent a message through Secretary General, that is Executive Director Rafael Tuju, the president, in a thinly actually veiled kind of a statement, the president in his word perhaps said that once everybody has agreed to enter into the agreement, then they should know that all right, then that actually should be happening once somebody wants to withdraw from a party, then you have to withdraw after 6 months. So the president perhaps had a very stern message. But Tabitha, the questions that Kalonzo Musyoka raised, how do you think they are going to be effected? Because time is running out. Okay. All right, trying to get hold of Tabitha there from Sierra. Let me ask you, Anthony, as we get hold of Tabitha now, as we head to, several nominations are taking place. Currently, today we have got Sierra County having theirs. What do you think is going to be the outcome? Because we have got several parties fielding candidates, and Jubilee is part of the Azimio, and the president is quite adamant, and we all know the person who is supporting, that is Honorable Raila Odinga. But then now, the Wiper Party with, certain demand, they need that seat of being the running mate.
Yes, the in Azimio, the commonality factor is the presidential candidate, where we have Baba as our presidential candidate. But it has been very clear in Jubilee Party that we shall be fielding candidates in all other seats, and the party is very careful to use first consensus in its being one of the main methods of nominations. We'll be talking to candidates to make consensus before even going to nominations itself. Now, I think it's very important from our leader, who is Uhuru Kenyatta. In this party, it has been beaten before, and we are being the party leadership is being careful that it has to come out with in a very clear way that the nominations have to be fair, so that it does not antagonize or separate the support that it is trying to make. Jubilee is trying to make it trying to make the house, clean up its house. So it wants to come out clear and strong. With all the what the ODM is doing, ODM has presidency, and there's also the other positions. So it is juggling between presidency and the other positions. But thank God, with Jubilee, we are only doing the candidates, and it has been very clear from the leadership that we have to try consensus first before we go to other methods of nominations. I think it's going to be okay at the end of the day.
All right. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we're still going to have that discussion with Anthony Ogato from Kitutu Masaba, as well as Tabitha Ogutu from Siaya County. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Unamtoa huyu kwake ukamleta hapa. Lea dadangu, mimi sijakuja vita hapa.
Mimi na Kate tumeshatengana, lakini talaka haijapita.
Sasa hiyo mali yote ni ya nini? Na hailiki, ina uchungu. Usione kama mbele nilikuficha, na muacha.
Arudi huko ukaishi, kwa sababu mimi hapa sikutaki Kate.
Sitaki msaada kuhusiana na jambo lolote lile. Hata linalomhusulia pia sitaki.
You're doing great. Okay, next I need you to try circular movements. This one's hard.
But you need to accept the fact that she's no longer a part of your life.
How do you expect me to stop looking for her?
You can't imagine what Damian Ferrer is capable of doing.
I definitely cannot accept that you sacrificed yourself for me. I simply can't. I know that's why you did it.
I am stepping down as General Director of the Quadroom Group for health reasons.
You were having an affair with Rafaela. This is how you repay me for what I've done?
I am Mariella's father.
Trying hard.
Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
Welcome back. Still continue the discussion here, and with me is Antonio Gato. I'm MP aspirant Kitutu Masaba, that in Nyamira County under Jubilee Party, and Tabitha Ogutu all the way from Siaya County, who is a political analyst. All right. So Tabitha, let me get your point on this particular issue here. Now, Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka wrote a letter to the registrar of political parties, and there's a twist in all of this. The twist is that the registrar of political parties, that is Anne Nderitu, yesterday said that whereas she was yet to receive the protest letter, amendments to the coalition document may not be allowed without concurrence among all the member parties. So let me interrogate here. What now would happen if all the member parties do not agree with all the demands from the Wiper Party? Tabitha?
Yes, Victor.
Yes, I'm saying there was a letter which was written by Wiper leader to the registrar of political parties having certain demands, but the registrar, that is Anne Nderitu, said that whereas she has not received that letter, there must be some certain concurrence from all the members of the party. So what would happen if all those demands are not met by the members of the party?
Yes, Victor. I think if the demands are not met by the members of the party, yes, then of course we will see before this particular coalition is been registered. Then we will see many. We might see. I'm just saying. Many people or a few of the legislatures affiliated to Azimio going to other camps or going independent. That is before the nominations for their respective positions. Also, I do not know the fate of for example, Wiper as a party right now, because it cannot. I don't know, but it can't join the UDA camp. Basically, because UDA yesterday signed the coalition agreements for the individual parties forming the coalition, the UDA coalition. And they're good and ready to go. And Kalonzo has undisputedly said that he cannot join himself with the people who are not speaking the same language as is, which is integrity, yes? So, therefore, I do not know where he stands at the moment. But Victor, something very interesting about all this scenario, because it's only Wiper that is having a problem. Of course, we saw Alfred Mutua the other day, or was also having some issues here and there. But I think he resorted to internal mechanism of solving such disputes or matters rising up from his party or individual members, and I think they were resolved at that point, and it was good. So this issue of Wiper writing letters and bringing them to the public domain before consulting with the other principals, I think it's like what Mheshimiwa was saying, is a way of seeking for attention that he has actually an upper hand in the Ukambani region. Victor, one time I remember you asking me here that before Kalonzo joined, remember even before Honorable Kalonzo joined the Azimio coalition, it was not easy for him to join. It really gave the other principal a very hard time. Already when even Honorable Gideon Moi was here, he was still wanting, I don't know, his demands were very high. Now, when they were met, and he agreed that they were met, and he wanted us to have a conversation before we had the Azimio One Kenya alliance formed, then now he's coming up with other demands. So what is it saying about him as a person? I think he's appearing to be very selfish, and he's appearing to be somebody who does not know what he literally wants. And he is not here in good faith. And I've had my co-panelists saying that we cannot also underestimate the kind of influence that the other governors in Ukambani region are bringing in Azimio. If you ask me, Kibwana, for example, is not affiliated to Wiper in any way. Charity Ngilu, by herself, she's not affiliated to Wiper. Honorable Alfred Mutua has his own party. So remember that even if he chooses not to, which I know he can't choose because he has no other best option, because as Kalonzo himself, his influence might be felt just at a given percentage, maybe 50% in Ukambani. So, and the whole country, he has not managed to win the hearts of other Kenyans that we can say that right now he can run for presidency. So what he needs to do literally is to calm himself down, sit down with other Azimio co-principals, because he went there willingly. He was not forced. Nobody was forced to join the coalition. And then have these conversations once and for all, so that we want to see the coalition moving on. And I think this kind of things coming up every now and then from one individual, literally, I think is wrecking the party in some way, and is making other members feel like we are trying to move a step ahead, and you are behaving like a mole in Azimio rather than a principal who also wants to build this Azimio coalition. So we need to see him decided. We want to see Kalonzo decided. And this idea of him always wanting to think that he can always have his way at the end of the day, how he wants it, without considering other people, then it's not a theatric that we want to dance towards or play along with. Yes, Victor.
Yeah, all right. And Anthony, if you can hear me, there is an allegation that during that particular meeting yesterday, the Secretary General of ODM, that's Edwin Sifuna, and Jeremiah Kioni of Jubilee, did not attend the media briefing, with some sources said that they stormed out of that particular meeting. It seems that things are not so easy in that house, in the party, right?
Yes, Victor.
Anthony?
All right.
I think Honorable is having a problem.
Okay, take it away, Tabitha.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is an indicator of things not being so well, or they did not reach some sort of an agreement, or the demands that were being made for them as a party. ODM at the end of the day is a party. Just like other parties, ODM also has to meet a certain threshold, even in terms of elective seats and things like that. So when it appears that I think at the moment for the Azimio coalition, it is appearing like the only thing that ODM needs is the presidential candidate position and nothing else. Victor, that can't happen, because at the end of the day... Okay,
but again, Tabitha, something quite interesting is that word has it that from that particular meeting, that Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka was using Oka to address the meeting, and even part of that letter was still under Oka. But we all know that Oka ceased to exist the moment they folded up and joined Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance. So why One Kenya Alliance at this particular point?
Victor, from what I'm reading from Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, according to himself, their demands have not been fully met, and therefore they are not ceasing to exist as a region or as an alliance. So, and that is why he is making for as a coalition. He said that no, it's not okay with them forming the Azimio One Kenya Alliance coalition yet. So I think that is an issue. They have not ceased to exist. And you realize every time they want to make progress on the registration, Kalonzo always brings something up. What is it that, I think that now Victor is very okay with writing letters and sharing it with the public rather than sharing it with the core principals in Azimio. It should also inform us that what does it really want, or what does OCA really want as an alliance.
Tabitha, one of the leaders, that is David Ocheng, who is the party leader of Movement for Democracy and Growth, said that as OCA principals, they did not meet to discuss the content of that letter.
So that means it's one-sided, right? That means it came from Kalonzo himself. And I think maybe Kalonzo is making a demand to want to be the vice president, maybe, of the Azimio coalition, like what I've had a few other political analysts put in front. Maybe that is one of his demands. But you see, Victor, Kalonzo also took a lot of time before joining Azimio. He's not been here for such a long time. He can't just come to the house and try and want to to arrange it for himself. I mean, every other person in that particular party as a principal represents a given percentage of the Kenyans or of legislators in this other Azimio affiliated parties. So what he needs to do is he needs to be someone who also talk or listens to what other people bring on board. And even if he wants to talk, let him talk in a way that is communicating enough, as such that, because now that has us as the public, we have known that he does not want the coalition, Azimio coalition, to be registered, and One Kenya Alliance coalition to be registered. So what is it really that we are going to help him with? It's just upon himself to have these conversations in the round table. I think that is how gentlemen should behave. And that is what I think Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka should do. I think that, Victor, as I said, you are talking about Edwin Sifuna storming out of the meeting yesterday and other Secretary General for different parties. I think that the demands they're making for ODM sometimes, I think because ODM is being supported to have a presidential candidate, they're trying to also not see the bigger picture that ODM is also a party that also needs other elective seats equally as they do. So they need to literally have a consensus around this. We need to have a consensus around this. We need to literally see these parties, merging up as one, not speaking different tones in the public. And if at all there is any sort of let them have the conversation in using the internal resolvement mechanisms. Yes.
Okay. Tabitha, thank you for that. Anthony from Kitutu, from Siaya to Kisii. Anthony, let me get your view on this particular question now that the Register of Political Parties says that she's not just received that letter, and now what would happen next for Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka? What if he decides to opt out of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance? It's like you have muted your... Anthony, please unmute your mic, kindly.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect.
I think
Right.
Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is being unrealistic.
Challenges of having technology. All right, Anthony, take it away.
Okay. Yeah. I think Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is being unrealistic with the kind of demands he's making, and actually with the kind of weight is bringing to the Azimio coalition. Of course, the law prohibits being in two coalitions, and if he still is in OCA and he's still in Azimio, I don't see how that deal is. Because even the other principals like Mother Karua have already made their decision. Now, with the kind of hula balloons he's bringing, I think those are tantrums that do not make any sense and do not make of a national leader. I think he better leaves. The earlier he leaves, the better. Other than wrecking the coalition from within, and on the other side, he's using this opportunity, of course, to probably demand some special seat of the BB, as my co-host Tabitha said. Now, if I don't think he qualifies right now to be the deputy president to the Right Honorable Prime Minister right now. It does not bring the kind of weight. I mean, there is a big difference between what he's trying to bring out, that he has a lot of support and from the Kenyan people, and himself as a person. Is a self-seeker. I think it's a self-centered, and I think it's not right. It does not bring that kind of weight to the Azimio. To me, it's a non-factor in Azimio, and Azimio should go forward without it. That's my maker.
All right.
So, as that was happening yesterday, we also had Deputy President William Ruto getting a nod, actually support from 12 different parties. That was happening at Ngong Racecourse. Tabitha, something quite peculiar that Kenyans took to social media, and the picture on the front page of the Star here, we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Out of the 12 parties that supported the Deputy President's bid, none of them was a woman. Tabitha.
Yes, Victor, I've been waiting. And I'm not the president of the party of the UDA coalition. Do not recognize the significance of taking top the coalition or conversations. None of that we have seen happening. Because even Honorable Anway Guru, of course, we would have expected that she should be there. And represent the voice of the women in the signing of the coalition from the other affiliated parties that are joining up from the UDA coalition. The fact that we could not see any woman amongst the 12 principals that are joining in to form the UDA coalition and giving the go-ahead to be the flag bearer, it's very disheartening that we can have a presidential candidate who does not advocate or stand for, or even appear to be seen to support the space of women in taking up leadership positions and even being involved in decision making. So how sure are we that, Victor, for example, that the women of that party...
Okay. All right. Let me give you an overview of what happened. The different parties that yesterday joined... Okay, Tabitha, coming back to you shortly. 8 parties on Tuesday joined the alliance and were received by Kenya Kwanza founding leaders from United Democratic Alliance, that is Amani National Congress, and Ford Kenya. And the parties are Democratic Party, led by Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, signed an agreement with Kenya Kwanza on Saturday and hit the campaign trail a day after. Parties that signed the agreements are Chama cha Kazi, Communist Party of Kenya, Devolution Party of Kenya, Farmers Party, the Economic Freedom Party, the Service Party, Umoja Maendeleo Party, and Tujibebe wa Kenya Party. Each of the parties will retain its identity while supporting the alliance presidential flag bearer. So, Tabitha, your closing remarks as we come to a close.
All right, as we come to a close, I'll close on the basis of the women and representation, and I think that UDA coalition and the individually affiliated parties, they need to include women in conversations that matters to them, and even the coalition agreement conversations, because we have women in those particular parties. We don't only need them to fill in those particular spaces when they're having meetings, but we need their voices to be heard. And also, it's my appeal that even as the country goes into the nominations, it's my appeal that Kenyans, if a woman meets the credentials and meets the requirements to vie for that particular seat, or meets the threshold like any other candidate does, let us give them opportunity to serve, because women are equally capable. Women can deliver. We have seen women leaders in this country with good track records, like Honorable Charity Ngilu, Honorable Martha Karua. They have shown without a doubt that women, if given opportunity to serve, they can do it with diligence. So we should include women in the spaces of leadership. Not only are they supposed to be there to make the illusion that the 2/3 genders rule is something that is being discussed and something that wants to be met, let them literally, physically be represented in conversations that matter to them.
All right. Tabitha Ogutu there. Let me get your final remarks. Anthony?
Yes, thank you. As Tabitha said, women should be given an opportunity and should be supported so much to take leadership positions, especially at the higher helm of leadership in our country. It's ironic to see UDA do not give women a chance. Ladies like Alice Wahome, I think they have, and even Martha Karua and the like, and Charity Ngilu, they are very strong. They have strong personalities, and they should be given opportunities. I don't think. I don't think that it is right that they are not considered, or they do not put their foot forward to the same position. Now, the ladies should not be used in the pulpits as flower girls, just dancing and being used for aesthetic values in the political arenas. They should also be given opportunities in the leadership. Going back to the Kalonzo Musyoka, I think it's expiring. I think that's the best thing I can say. With the kind of demands, it's expiring himself in terms of trying to make unrealistic demands, and surely sitting on the negotiation tables, and then all of a sudden coming to the public to write letters or complaining on the main media that of his dissatisfaction. Finally, okay.
All right, thank you, Anthony, because we just ran out of time. We wish you all the best now that you are facing the ballot on 21st of this month in Kitutu Masaba. From KBC, we wish you all the best, and may the best person win. We've been speaking to Anthony Ogato from Kitutu Masaba, MP aspirant in Kitutu Masaba, as well as Tabitha Ogutu from Siaya County, who is our political analyst. All right, that's where we end this particular debate. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. That's where we wrap it up. On behalf of the entire team, have a good day. Bye-bye.
in which family will be the main hardship to achieve happiness.
Well, I understand it, Mom, but I don't want to break up with Adrian.
Paulina will have to confront her own father. And Adrian will suffer due to his sister Julieta's obsession.
No! Not with her! No! Not with her! No!
Paulina is the woman I truly love! No. But regardless of jealousy and intrigue,
Karen, open the door, please!
they will fight for their love until the end.
Ulomtoa huyu kwake ukamleta hapa. Lea dadangu, mimi sijakuja vita hapa.
Mimi na Kate tumeshatengana, lakini talaka haijapita.
Sasa hiyo mali yote ni ya nini? Na hailiki, ina uchungu. Usione kama mbele nilikuficha na muacha.
Tarudi huko huko ukaishi. Kwa sababu mimi hapa sikutaki Kate.
Sitaki msaada kuhusiana na jambo lolote lile. Hata linalomhusu pia sitaki.